Hello, everyone, and welcome to Indie Game Club. This is our weekly conversation where we discuss a wide variety of indie games with an awesome group of guests that you can see here. My name is Michael Zhitkov. I am the founder and executive director of Potions and Pixels. We are a nonprofit organization based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Our mission is to use games for social impact. So definitely check out our website at potionsandpixels.com if you want to hear all about our work with youth, our work with workforce development projects, we developing games for the city, a wide variety of things. We really appreciate having you here right now. We know all of you here are jumping in, watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We really appreciate it. I'll get that alert box adjusted right there. I see it's kind of tiny there on the side. But before we get to all these amazing people right here, I want to talk briefly about all the upcoming events we have. Of course, you all are here today for Indie Game Club. We do Indie Game Club every Monday and Thursday. On Mondays, we stream ourselves playing the games, and of course, our guests stream throughout the week. On Thursdays, such as today, we come together to have a really great, deep discussion about the games that we play. Of course, on Tuesdays, we've been rolling with our conversation series. If you've missed these, have no fear. You still have an opportunity to check out the archives. 2 weeks ago, we had Black Voices in Gaming, a really amazing conversation with the folks you see here. Last week, we had a group of folks from the Athena Alliance. Two of the members of the Athena Alliance are with us today. And we had a great conversation on women in gaming. Definitely make sure to check that out. 2 days ago, I'm losing track of time here. 2 days ago, we discussed custom game controllers. This was probably one of our most, I guess, chatty conversations. People were in that chat asking questions and comments. I hope you all learned a lot about getting involved with either modding your controllers, building your controllers, or at least buying some unique stuff. Coming up next week, we have Games to the Rescue. This is going to be a conversation where we explore how games are being used in the medical field to fight against coronavirus. So we have 3 doctors lined up, 3 good friends of mine. I'm really excited about this conversation, and I think you'll learn a lot of things. Whether you have questions about coronavirus itself or questions about the games and how games are being used to advance these medical topics, I think you're going to enjoy it. Starting in September, we'll have a graphic for it soon, but we're going to have Black Voices in Esports. That'll be our first week in September, or I think on the first day maybe in September, followed by Hispanic Voices in Gaming, who we'll be joined by Julio Nazario. He is a North Carolina-based board game designer. He is definitely on a hot streak with these amazing game designs, including the one you see in the background there. That is Control, which you can find right now at Target. Of course, if you want to play games outside of discussing them, which we love to do, you can join us on Wednesdays and Saturdays for online game night. We play video games and board games in our Discord. All of that information is available in the event description. We also have the Potions and Pixels Online League. This is an opportunity for people of all ages, all skill levels to jump in here with some Smash Brothers. This is totally free to participate in. It is designed with all skill levels in mind. So even if you've never touched Smash Brothers or you're one of the state champions, we welcome you. On Wednesdays, we have Smash and Learn. This is our session where you can learn about different techniques, different characters, different levels, and just level up your skills. On Fridays, we have King of the Ring, which is our scrimmage session. And then every Saturday, we host a free tournament open to all skill levels, and we are developing a ranking system so that you can play against people of your rank. But of course, you all came here today for Indie Game Club, so we are going to get that discussion going right now. So we have this amazing group of people right here. Can we get a wave to the camera from our beautiful guest here? Thank you so much for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. We were joking before this started that, this is kind of my way of kidnapping people into discussing a topic that I love so much, and that is indie games. All of our guests took the time out to play all of these amazing games, and we're really excited about that. So I'm actually going to be tossing it over to our wonderful guests to introduce themselves before we dive into our games. So I'm going to start off right above me with Layla. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you. Hey guys, this is me. I'm Angelic Layla. I am part of the stream team Goddesses for the Athena Alliance. You can catch me on Twitch I'm affiliated with Twitch. My all my socials is Angelic Layla, Angelic_Layla. I play. I'm a variety gamer. Recently, I'm happy that I'm able to, participate in the indie club because I have more games to play, which I really got to enjoy. So, which you all will obviously see we're going to discuss. But I usually play spiders, RPGs for the most part, MMOs, and I have like a little positive vibe on mine. I'm real chill, but I also rage, so you don't know what you're gonna get. It's long streams, so. But that's
Long
me.
streams.
That's
Yeah, we're
me,
going to talk about that because I
y'all.
woke up this morning to get my kids ready for school, and Layla was going on like a 7 hour stream session, and I had fun watching her play one of the games that we'll be discussing soon. So, all of these folks have some amazing stream content, so definitely check it out. Cool. Thanks, Layla. So, actually, we got to continue the tradition we always do, whether we're all socially isolating, but we're going to clap it up for every one of our guests who joins in. So, thank you so much, Layla. Appreciate it. All right, let's keep those applause going for Mr. Bryant Allen in the top center there. Can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Hey everybody, my name is Bryant Allen. Many of you might know me better as Is the Great. You guys can catch me on Saturdays. I actually help Mike out. I help facilitate the Saturday sessions of Potions and Pixels. If you guys know one of the big names in Potions and Pixels, big names in the Athena Alliance is Femfox Fatale. You occasionally catch me playing Dungeon Defenders or whatnot with her. So you'll see me on other people's streams. I don't really do a lot of streaming myself. I do plenty of gaming though. Lots of RPGs, lots of Dragon Age, lots of Skyrim, lots of RPGing all the time. I also RP analog style. Gotta love my D&D. Gotta love my other RPGs. But yeah, that's me.
I love it. Thank you, Bryant. Bryant's been a part of the Potions and Pixels family for quite some time now, and we really appreciate everything he's does for us in the community. Awesome guy. We appreciate it, Brian. Looking forward to talking with you. Moving further to the right, we have Dee, also known as Scarlet. So can you give an intro to your to the audience, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Hi. So my Twitch channel is Scarlet Aeon. So I go by Scarlet or by D. I'm also one of the gaming goddesses from the Athena Alliance stream team. So you'll often see me lurking in other Athena Alliance girls chats, sometimes doing co-streams like with Faulty Code Gamer for Neverwinter Nights. Love doing that. I've been gaming since I was like 5. So started with things like on the Super Nintendo. I love all games. I'm just getting my gaming desktop set up. And I love indie games because they're so much cooler and you get to see smaller developers actually be more creative with it. I normally play RPGs like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Skyrim. I normally play more single players and I play live with other people, but the Athena Alliance is starting to get me into playing live with people again, which I greatly enjoy and I love it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this with all you guys.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the Athena Alliance has come out so strongly. I mean, you guys, we obviously had an interview about women in gaming, 2 weeks ago, or last week. God, I'm losing track of time. And it was just an amazing conversation, seeing how quickly the Athena Alliance went from an idea to doing some Charlotte events to now having people across the country participate. And we should say not only shout out to the Athena Alliance and all the amazing folks who are providing bits. Thank you, Faulty Code Gamer, Mystic Tightness. We have all these people hosting. You guys are so super appreciated. You guys are you guys roll deep. That's really awesome, and we're going to have at least 2 people from the Athena Alliance every week on this show. So shout out again to the Athena Alliance. Make sure, if you're not following them, you do so right now. All right, passing it over to my right is Bard Bastic. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Of course. Hi, everybody. I am Bard Bastic. I'm Michael. I've been with Potions and Pixels for a couple of years now. Been working with Mike on some projects behind the scenes, trying to get some stuff going on digitally since we're all stuck at home anyways. Been gaming since I was a kid and mostly play co-op social games where I get to interact with friends and people online. Just started streaming, so if you want to follow any of those things, I'm just Barbastic on Twitter and Twitch. Not on any certain schedule yet, but working on it.
Really excited to have you, man. Likewise with you and Bryant, you guys have been like true Potions and Pixels MVP, so I know I can always count on you guys for these conversations and these events. I really appreciate it. Last but certainly not least is Mr. Tony Varela to the far corner right. You know, I want to give a quick shout out before Tony introduces himself. You may recognize Tony from last week's episode. We unfortunately had a guest that dropped out yesterday. And I was thinking, we got 5 people. We could probably just continue. But I was like, you know what? Let me see if Tony would be down. We had such a good conversation. He might be down to jump in again. And Tony was like, bam, I'm in it, baby. Let's do it. And so Tony powered through and played through these games last night. And we're excited to have you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't do all-nighter, but definitely was last night and most of this morning and a little bit during work. So hey, my name's Tony Varela. I go by Tony Tiger 90 in pretty much every other gaming area. I'm a big retro gamer, so I like to say I game really from 85 to 99. So that's like NES to about Sega Genesis. No, Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, excuse me with that one. And I was here last week, and I'm really excited to discuss the games.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you, and we're going to get this conversation kicked off just by looking at the games that we have for the week. So I'm going to do a little preview right here. We have 4 games coming up. Night of the Consumers, which you can see here. Many of these games are included with the bundle for racial justice and equality hosted by Itch. This is, of course, Family, which you can get right now for free on Itch. It was the most recent release of these games. A New Life, a visual novel that we'll be discussing. And then last but not least, we have Wheels of Aurelia. So these are the 4 games that we are going to be looking into. And actually, I'm going to start off with our first game, which is Night of the Consumers. So I'm going to show off this trailer for everyone right here before we jump into this discussion.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Purchase. Help me. Hey.
So that was Night of the Consumers, developed by Germ Food. This game, of course, is pretty wild to describe, right? Does anybody want to venture? I could read the official explanation, but does anybody want to just throw it out there? If your mom's watching you and asking what you're playing, how would you describe this game?
A customer service simulator on Black Friday simulator, because it's that level of
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that reference, and I don't know, the full ages of our guests here, but I still remember those times. Tony, you remember I mentioned last week that I still remember a Black Friday back when I was younger where my brother-in-law got like elbowed in like an electronic got ripped out of his hands by a middle-aged lady, and she just ran to the checkout. It's not as extreme as it is now. Of course, you probably have heard like places like Walmart are like won't be doing Black Friday anymore, but I think this shows the kind of retail environment, the retail horror that a lot of people have dealt with. How did you all like this game? Do you think for those who have worked retail, did it simulate retail properly? I know, Layla, you said some stuff on your stream, which we'll share, and then we'll bleep out some of the sections too.
Yeah, a lot of things. Half of them didn't even make sense. But definitely, I've been. We were just talking about Black Friday. I worked at GameStop for 5 years, and I worked every freaking Black Friday those 5 years.
Oh no!
And I will say, they definitely had a system. We had a system, okay, so it wasn't as like crazy as you would think it was, but like the whole time, and like I've been in the service industry for for years. So I'm thinking, like, as I'm playing, the manager's like coming yelling at me, and I'm like, "What are you doing, admin work? Like, why aren't you on the floor? Like, you asked me twice for the same item. I just told you where it was, and now you want to come back? I gotta stock this stuff." Like, it was just so relatable, and I feel like that's where I like enjoyed it, but raged so hard because it was so relatable to the industry. But it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
Just
the tagline is "Retail is hell," and this is a survival horror retail game. Bart Basta, can you give us an overview of the gameplay for our audience? Like, what are you actually doing in this game?
Yeah, so you're essentially just trying to restock shelves and avoid customers that need help, which, as somebody who's never worked in retail, I take very offensively. I have never been that kind of customer. So I felt
really
attacked. but no, it was definitely a lot of fun. It's definitely a horror. I could see it being considered survival at the same time. Yeah, trying to hide from customers, jumping into supply closets and throwing boxes at them to get them to go away. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Can I get a show of hands of who of our guests have worked retail before? Okay, Brian. So we'll toss it back up to you. I'm assuming it wasn't this bad. Let's hope it wasn't this bad. But the basic idea here is that as Michael said, you have to stock all these shelves in a certain amount of time, or your manager comes and chases you in this really horrific way. Which, if you watched my stream, I was just constantly jumping in terror the whole time. Even if you expect it coming, it still scares the hell out of you. But can you kind of describe, like, what are the retail elements that this game covers? Because in many ways, I feel like this is an amazing satire for this industry. Like, it really is eye-opening and very clever. Can you talk a bit about that? Like, what are the extreme exaggerations and how they relate to the real world?
Like, it's funny how it's extreme, but it almost isn't. Like, it's I was talking a little bit because I was about to, but like, it's wildly unrealistic because while you're helping one customer, other customers can't bother you. So
yes,
that's, first of all,
yes. Can we talk about that?
But yeah, no, it's as much as it is retail, even like with my food service stuff, because I used to work in food service and I worked back of house, and I had so many customers that would come up to me and like are trying to get me to take their order and I'm like, I bake here. I'm not the register guy. And I feel like that is the entire game. That is the feeling of the whole game is you're just like, I'm trying to stock. I don't know who's supposed to be helping you, but it's not me. This is my job. Please let me do my job. And like the customers are almost an impediment to you completing the game. Like helping the customers literally does nothing as far as actually accomplishing the goals of the game and getting to the end of the game. They're literally the antagonists, which is it's not, I think, how most customers think of the everyday working experience of the people that work there. But sometimes it feels that way, and it's helpful to be on both sides of that. Sure. So when I'm in a store and I'm like, I need help, let me find the person who's actually supposed to be helping me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how I feel like this game really nails that like hyper intense atmosphere that it's going for by kind of being a bit critical of or very critical of retail. But the game mechanics I think were surprisingly like really solid. This isn't kind of like a gimmicky game just to like stream. I really found myself enjoying it. And Tony, I wanted to ask you about the whole idea of just even like memorizing like where things go.
Oh, man.
That made me like feel like I was totally like role playing. I'm sitting with my son. I'm like, where are the magazines? Where's the pharmacy? Where's the clothing? And I'm freaking out. Like, how did you respond? Like, what did you do? Like, how did you keep track of everything? What was your strategy going into this?
Memorize. One thing that I figured out that you can actually place if you drop a box, you can actually go around and place the boxes in different areas in front of the aisles that they're corresponding to. And then technically like you said, the timer doesn't start, or the customers don't come to you, ironically, until you actually start doing your job, which is unpack boxes. So,
Yes.
so yeah. So it's like if and I'm saying this because like it took me about 30 minutes to figure out like why is nothing happening. And it's because the boxes are labeled with different aisles, and then you have to go to that specific aisle to go ahead and stock up. But other than that, man, I really enjoyed the game. One thing was interesting. I'm like, man, this store is like really big. It has Halloween supplies,
Yeah.
kitchen. I'm like, it's like a
Video
super
games.
Walmart or something. It has video games. It has all this stuff. But of course, you start memorizing where the aisles are being placed. And going back to what Mike said, dude, the jump scares are real in this game, hands down. The jump scares are real for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just like getting them, getting the customers like the objects they want. Layla, we're going to be sharing a video you sent me earlier, but there's a point in the game where a baby is involved. Can you tell the audience not only why is there a baby involved in this game, because you probably
That
wouldn't
evil
expect
child.
that, and maybe you can share with everybody what your response was to the baby.
Yeah,
Which
Damien.
one? Which one is approved?
All of them.
Okay, so this baby, I named her Bertha. At first I called her Karen, and then I named her Bertha. But she is a customer who literally comes to you while you're trying to work, and she's like, my baby, help me find my baby. I lost my baby. I'm like, you lost your baby? How did like this girl didn't lost her baby? So I'm like, you have to go and listen for the baby's cry. That's the key to finding the baby. Is like as you're running around the aisles, as you get closer, you can hear the baby scream like close to you. So I like find this baby, and I'm like, how the baby even like, how'd you lose your baby? The baby can't even walk. Like, so confused. So I had many words for Bertha and her infant child. I'm pretty sure at one point I picked up the baby and I was like, you little shit, where's your mom?
Which is
like
probably
running around
something someone is saying right now somewhere in America in a Target somewhere. My reaction to that was actually, I wanted to do the same thing you can do with the boxes, and my immediate reaction was to throw the baby.
Throw the baby.
My wife is probably in the other room, and wants to have another child. And
So, Mike, how many children do you have?
there was 3.
You see, what bothered me most about that woman is she wasn't even following you to help you, like, to be like,
No.
as soon as you find her child.
Yes.
I'm just like, you're just going to stand in the place where you asked me to find your kid and just stand there and expect me to bring the child back to you?
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. You would think she'd follow, but also, she wants to make sure you know where she's at. So when you retrieve the baby, she's not in some other part of the store.
Yeah.
She should have just been following
That's all
us.
it was.
It should have been an escort mission. As much as I dislike escort missions, it should have been an escort mission.
That's the funny part, though. I
Like,
feel
I'm
like
gonna
all
go
of these
first,
things are
right?
kind of clever. And like, I almost feel like this is going to be a college dissertation someday, that somebody's going to be writing about this game, writing about the modern economic system and using this game as like the metaphor there. That like every single decision in this game seems to like, relate specifically to the theme in many ways. Did you guys notice how the music changed as you like played the game?
Yes.
Every few boxes, the
Nerve
music that's in the store would change.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
terrifying was that for you all? Because like,
Jesus.
I didn't know why. At first, I didn't even know why it was changing. I didn't know if it was because I was running out of time, or it was because I got more boxes done, and like I couldn't tell why the music was changing. And honestly, I still don't know which one it is. If it's because you're running out of time, or you accomplished putting away more boxes. So
I don't know if it's a difficulty thing or if it's an achievement thing, but it is. And so I've played that game far too many times, which is why I know this now.
It's addicting.
But it changes. The music changes after you finish stocking your 4th box and after your 7th box.
My man.
Like I said, I played too many times.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
I think you're right. It's 4th and 7th box.
Yeah, and it was really unnerving, right? Like the sudden change,
Yes.
and it has you like looking everywhere you
An
can.
interesting thing apart about it is because it starts to ratchet up almost your stress level.
Yeah.
And also, so this is just good game design. when you go into the stock room, the music stops.
Yes.
That is true.
And so it's part of the
So
sanctuary you have is you're like,
You can't hear
"Okay, I can
footsteps going
breathe."
by though. If you're not stuck,
yes.
and it's just like
Just that,
they're
yeah.
waiting for me.
Exactly.
I've said that. I've literally went into the staff room. Someone was chasing me. I went in there, and as soon as I went through the doors, I was like, "I'm taking a break." Don't ask me for anything. It's so relatable. I was like, right? Like if I'm stressed out, I go straight to the back, and I'm like, I need a minute.
I did the same thing. I added one more other element to it, and I threw a box at the customers first, and then I went and took a break. So let's talk about that briefly. When you're running around, there's a little bit of stealth to this, right? Because you're trying to avoid being in the sight line of the enemy or the enemies, the people, the fellow humans.
No, you had it
Your
right.
customer.
Yeah, the
You're right the
customers.
first time.
Yeah, sorry. But you really want to avoid them, obviously. And the only ways you can really avoid them is either staying out of their sight line, jumping into the break room, or if you satisfy their needs, or finally if you just throw a box at them and run off. Tony, what was your kind of general strategy, how you approached unboxing all of these goods? Were you looking around as they had that option, or were you just kind of gunning for it?
At my first few times, so I wasn't as successful as the guy with 10 boxes. I think I got about 2 or 3, if max.
Barbastic in the middle there.
But the thing is that the strategy was just go as fast as you can, and then at certain points I started wising up and realizing that you can just look around and see if customers are coming your direction, and of course always use the run button.
Always.
Always.
How many of you all did the whole looking left and right? That reminded me of Alien Isolation. I actually got to the point where I was just like, it's not even worth it. Like, I'm just gonna zone in.
Really helping after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was noticing is if you were looking either way, by the time you notice them and you press space and get off of the I'm stuck stalking, they're there. There's no point. I have 2 more seconds trying to throw up those last couple items. There was almost no point in looking around. I was just like, I just gotta go, and then I run. That's all. That's all I
seriously.
Run, throw another box.
Throw a box, like do a 180 box throw. That was like your go-to strategy. Can I get someone give me an impersonation of what the customers say, because it's still seared in my mind. Does anybody remember some of the things the customers say to you?
I can tell you the manager that you're fired.
Yeah, the camera shaking violently.
I heard that a lot.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Excuse me.
And then they going through the aisle. Purchase.
Yes.
The zombie brains
Stay away from me.
impersonation.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
I love the one that's on the automated he's on the
Scooter?
automated cart that's driving around made me so thirsty, and I'm like, what?
I felt bad about
I've
throwing a box
heard
at him,
that.
but I totally did.
It's great because I'm pretty sure it knocked over his whole cart, and then he instantly gets back up and is looking at you again. I'm like, no.
That's not creepy at all.
I had a clip of him coming towards me in his stupid little scooter thing, and I threw the box at him, and I violently called him the B word, and then ran away. And earlier, somebody was talking about trying to memorize the aisles. I literally, for the first, I want to say, how long I would say the first 45 minutes, maybe more, I was running around telling my chat, I was like, okay, guys, HP for freaking the home cleaning pharmacy. And I was just yelling letters over and over so I know where everything was. And that was how I was having my chat help me navigate through the store.
Absolutely.
Just
Scarlett, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, at the very beginning, as soon as you have that tutorial with the other worker there, that's just no, I'm done.
Yes.
Here's my cheat sheet, and then he just books it. He's like, I'm quitting. It's done. I got it. I'm staring at it. I'm like, but where, baby? What baby? And I'm just reading through it. And I look up at my chat, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. I'm already getting the anxiety of working in retail again. And my chat said to me, it's retail. You're not supposed to like it. And I was just like, realer words have not been said. Right? Let's get started.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Like, I think you guys were just saying, like, makes you kind of think from like other people's perspective here. I think this is all obviously amplified more by the fact that, you know, we're doing this show digitally, obviously because of coronavirus, and it makes you feel. I mean, we've seen these like freak out videos like regularly in the news. I kind of just like scroll through them on social media, and you see people who like refuse to wear a mask or something in these environments, or yell at folks.
Well, yeah, none of these people were wearing masks. None of them should
not
have
a
been.
single one.
Shout out to all our retail, you know, all the essential workers out there who are keeping us afloat.
You guys are great
during this time. Yes, we are not complaining about you. And honestly, after playing this game, I will not be angry if you throw a box at me. Because,
understand wholeheartedly.
Yes, if that's the reason, like, it totally makes sense. Yeah, I was really overall like impressed with this game. I kind of came into it blindly. Had any of you heard of this game beforehand, or was this your first time checking it out?
No, first time.
Yep, I saw it on the bundle because I bought the bundle back whenever it was being sold from itch.io, and I saw it in the list of games, and I was like, that sounds like my old jobs. I'm not sure if I want to click it because now I'm terrified that it's like, oh, hey, do you want to be part of our indie game club? I'm like, sure. What games are we playing this week? Night of the Consumers. I was just like, cool.
Yeah,
this one was on our list from the beginning.
I definitely
we wanted to go.
I definitely point out someone from the chat. They said this game looks very stressful. Playing it was very stressful. Jump scares. Again, I'll say it. The jump scares are real in this game.
It really well done though too. Like it was a very well done game.
Absolutely.
And absolutely. Sir, yeah, fun.
And I want to give a shout out to everybody on the chat here. We're seeing quite a few comments here. Mystic Titanus saying yes, best game, and doing her excuse me voice in the chat. Johnny and Twitch is also saying, yo, GameStop Black Friday is pretty bad. That's a one and done. Darts Abulba in the chat saying that's why everyone's eyeballs you while you're shopping. It's realistic-ish. It's exaggerated realism. A lot of folks are referencing some of our
should have been worse.
All sorts of places, including saying how stressful it is. And Amar, who was a guest last week, says, I'm looking forward to the GameStop game simulator. Layla, would you add anything else to it? What's like the worst thing that somebody asked you like while you were working at GameStop? I imagine you get all sorts of different questions.
Oh my gosh. For the longest time, actually, it was. I'm gonna say that I kind of felt good about it, but for the longest time, people wouldn't ask me anything. I'd walk up to them like, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" And they literally be like, "No," and they go straight to the counter and ask like the guy for a coworker and be like, "Hey,
I've seen that happen."
I need this.
Oof.
Uh-oh. We might have.
Oh no!
Layla. Okay, GameStop clearly knows we're having this conversation, and Layla wasn't allowed to do it.
I imagine.
Layla, are you back?
There you are.
Am I back?
All right, Layla, spit it out really quickly.
Okay.
Like as soon as you said it, GameStop came in.
Right, they were like. But pretty much the manager worked in retail, so he didn't know. So he sent them right back to me. He was like, "Layla actually plays that game, so you should probably ask her." I'm like, "Oh, so you did need help? What did you need help
exactly.
With?
Call them out, right?
We're like, yeah. But the weirdest thing was somebody asked, like, I wore a dress one day, and the guy was like, "You look nicer. You should wear them more often since you're a girl." And I was like,
"Whoa."
You're socially awkward. I don't blame you. You probably just don't talk very often to women. But like,
that could be a whole like social awkward simulator. That
right.
We'll have to look up. A few comments we have on Facebook. Emmy, shout out to Emmy. She said that was not a baby. That was a large child in diapers. Yeah, that was a big ass baby.
Massive baby.
Sure. Oh God, my wife is typing in the chat. She's saying, "Yes, I sure do want to have another child. Let's put the pressure on him." Okay, so let's.
Oh my God.
Delete. Can we ban?
Inappropriate discussion.
Yeah, exactly. There's a cloud bot feature.
She'll just jump on Twitch and then spam it there.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay, that might be a good cue to start.
And hearing all this horror stories,
One of my favorite
retail horror
moments.
stores is pretty crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't work in retail, but I did 5 years in fast food, and fast food on Thanksgiving it sucked. Like, fast food on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of these folks come in like with like just total like sense of entitlement, right? That they want.
Yeah.
That's the part that was so funny, though. I think Brett, you said that whole idea that when you're helping one customer, that's the only time the other customers are like not rude, right? They're like, oh, okay, I'll chase this person down, you know, Usain Bolt style, just go straight after him. But except when he's helping somebody else, then I'm gonna be respectful and just drive around.
Oh,
Like I
but
said,
the
wildly
moment,
unrealistic.
the
Yes.
moment you get to the point that the customer following you wants to be at, there's another customer waiting there sometimes.
Oh my
like, because
God.
they're, and I'm like, oh no, as soon as I finish with this customer, this one right here is going to want, no, I can't win here. Yeah, I did. I used to work with pizza and Super Bowl Sundays were like our like retail life.
Been
Oh,
there, done that.
so fun.
Yeah, we see
Oddly
several
enough-
folks. Faye, shout out to Faye here, Faulty Code Gamer as well, both talking about customer service and how this kind of entitled attitude that people come with. Like, I came here with my money, I'm a kind of a prince, serve me sort of thing. I would actually love to see this game adapted into some different settings. How would you all feel about that?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
I would too.
Yes.
It
So
would
it
be
seems-
great, but I would also cry a little more if it hit too close to home.
That
Yeah.
was me the whole time.
Exactly. So it sounds like this is getting the thumbs up from everybody. Everybody
Oh, yeah.
enjoyed it this week?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this was actually one of my
Customer
favorites.
wanted alcohol and then immediately asked for more alcohol after I just added it down.
Oh yeah, no.
5 out of 5.
Let me ask you one last thing about that. Did the
I don't
customers
think
for
you
you
need
all, like the
alcohol.
guy on the automated wheelchair would just always ask me about like video games and like PC games, video game type elitism stuff. Like, did you guys get the same responses or were they rotated among all of the folks?
I think.
Oh, yeah. I feel
they
like
rotate around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually accurate because he did ask more about like it was like
And we lost her again. And I imagine there might be like each customer has 2 or 3 like
Yeah,
things that they could go to. So maybe like certain ones only mention certain things.
yeah.
But-
I do feel like I've had like one customer that I helped, and then when I finished helping him, if I stood there too long, he would ask me for something else.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how. And he's like, okay,
That
hold
happened.
on for a little while. Let me figure out where I'm taking this box. And then he'd spin around and just be like, excuse me,
Yes.
can you show me where the Halloween things are? I'm like, we're at pet food and you want to, okay. Complete opposite side of the store. That's fine.
the other side, yeah.
See, your first problem was trying to logic it out.
Pet food and Halloween, those ones on the far end were the ones that I felt like the safest at. Did you all get that
Yes.
feeling? Like when I said
Yes.
pet
Oh, yeah.
food or Halloween, I was like, like I had less things to worry about. I was at the end. I could like comfortably put my back against the wall. Yeah.
When I beat it, my last box was for Halloween, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll be
Yeah.
isolated afar from everyone else. And I'll be able to turn all this stuff in, and the music stopped. And I was
Just
like,
want to
well,
reiterate
I
the
didn't
fact that
know.
Bart Bastic had to tell everybody that when he beat it, just he wanted everybody to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He had to slip that in at some point. I was going to put a
It had
comment.
to come out.
I
That's all right.
wasn't going to mention it, but Tony mentioned it earlier, and I wanted to make sure that everybody
It's-
actually heard it.
It's okay. All hail Barbastic.
Yes.
We understand.
Yeah.
You're such a
Thank
pro
you.
gamer.
Thank you. I am.
Layla, you cut off briefly there. I don't know if you were talking about GameStop again, but did you want to say one last thing? I don't know what the deal
No,
was.
yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, no, I was saying the same thing. For like pet food and alcohol, and then do it yourself and Halloween were like my go-to areas. I'd like based
Yeah.
everything off of that. Those 2 end aisles.
Yeah, those
Just-
were the landmarks.
Yes,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Awesome. So we are going to transition to our next game, and I will pop the trailer up here. This is called Family by Tim Sheinman.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Did I ever
right, that was Family by Tim Sheinman. We should say that Tim Sheinman not only did all the artwork for this game, the programming, but also did the music. And hopefully listening to that trailer, you realize that this game is focused on music. And he did an amazing job. And we are incredibly excited that he will actually be a guest tomorrow. He's based out of the UK, so we're going to be doing that interview at 4 p.m., a little bit of an unorthodox time, but we're excited about that. Guests, I don't think it's any secret you all know that this was my game of the week. I am absolutely obsessed with this game. I want more of it. I can't wait to dive into it. Can somebody describe this game? Because it's hard to, like, you can't really immediately compare it, right? When we talk about games, we can say it's like Mario or Halo or whatever it may be. This one truly is rather unique and stands kind of in a category all its own. Does anybody want to take a crack at describing this game?
The best way that I was trying to describe it during my stream was it was like Guess Who and Clue, but not so like murderous. It was just trying to like figure out who is who, an investigation type way. So, and I almost even wanted to say it was like some type of even maybe strategy, but it was just I was all over the place trying to figure out. It was like a whole mystery to me. So
yeah, it's essentially a detective game, but without a crime, right? That's the part that fascinated me when I first heard it being discussed as like a detective game, kind of like almost like a historical detective game where you're trying to look at this time period in the London pop scene, 1985 to 1995. Which I will say, when I first heard about this game, I totally thought these might be real bands. You know, I'm not familiar with the London pop scene.
I even asked her like while I was playing, I was like,
"Yeah,
Scarlett, can you check this for me real quick? I don't know, are these real bands?"
Yeah,
the music is on point.
The music's amazing.
Yes, Aurelia, you want to talk about
legit
that? Yeah, what did you think about the music there?
The music was fantastic, and I loved listening to it. The only time it ever frustrated me at all was whenever I was like, "No, not Raw Raw Buffalo again. I need the other interview from the radio. I need something else. I need to give me clues." But loved the music, and after I played the game, I checked like just one of the bands, and then when I was watching Barbastic play because I was in his chat while he was playing, he was like, "Are any of these bands real?" I was like, "Hold on, I'll Google it so that way if they are, you don't get clued into who's who, so you can continue the mystery."
Yeah, I ended up downloading the soundtrack. I loved it so much. And if you check out his the designer's itch page, you'll actually see that every one of these bands is directly inspired by another band of that era. So, of course, like big groups like the Smiths, that sort of thing. But it's really awesome seeing this kind of like musical genealogy and being able to piece that out. So just for the folks watching, just to add another piece to it, the main goal of this game is you're trying to take this musical family tree of this era, kind of a lost era of music. You know, this is pre-internet stuff, if you can imagine a time. And you're trying to build this family tree, exactly. And you're trying to figure out who the band members were for these bands, and you're doing that by piecing together interviews, band notes, listening to the radio, listening to the songs. I really love this whole multimedia detective style. It almost reminded me of, like, in modern times, the best way we can use our detective skills is when we're like on Google, like, oh, this actor, I know that they were in this movie, and therefore, you know, you go down this rabbit hole.
And you're done.
Yeah, it makes you feel clever. Did anybody else get that, like, feeling, that, like, this deep level of satisfaction that there's not much hand-holding at all, really?
Oh, yeah.
No, not at all.
And you have to, like, figure all of it out. Brian, how was your experience with this game?
Oh, I love puzzle games. So
Yeah.
This was just right up my alley. And it was the little stuff, because, like, sure, there's the text stuff, but there's also, like, certain bands that I figured out because, like, I knew who was in the band, but I didn't know their instruments, and so I had to, like, listen to the music of the band to figure out if the singer was a male or female vocalist, and, like, just little touches like that. And this was primo game. Primo puzzle game. It was good.
Yes. I love that feeling too, when you start to, like, piece things together. And I noticed while watching you all that we all kind of took slightly different paths to coming to the conclusion. This game does not even tell you, like, you have to get these predetermined names ahead of time. Michael, what was your kind of, like, approach to this? Were you immediately jumping to the notes or listening to the music, or how did you confront this all?
So I mostly use the notes and the interviews Like, I started just trying to listen to just the music, and I was gonna compare like music styles. Like, oh, this person plays guitar like this, so they must be in this band too. And then Scarlett was like, just so there's interviews on the radio. You probably want to go to that. I was like, okay. So then the rest of the time it was radio and notes, just interviews, notes. That's all I did. I did appreciate the notes. The bands weren't like they were fictional, but the notes had references to real bands. Like there's a note that's like one of the singers talking to like I think it's the guitarist for the Smiths or the drummer for the Smiths, like like talking about thanks for letting me borrow your drums or something. I was like, oh, that's real cool because they're not real bands, but they.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool references to that era.
Yeah, mostly notes.
Yeah. And we see in the chat here, Amar saying, hell yeah, family. Playing this game really felt like playing a new genre of video games, felt so fresh. You know, the interesting thing about this game is most of the games, when I stream them on Monday, I go into somewhat blindly. Obviously, we prepare the games ahead of time, so we know which ones we're going to play. But I try to kind of go in somewhat blindly. This one, when I heard about, I got so excited for, I really couldn't stop. Like, I had to just immediately play it. And so you might notice that my wife actually played it on Monday, and she actually enjoyed playing it together versus kind of like the single player experience. I know Layla, this morning when I was getting my kids ready for school, you were like on a 7-hour stream binge, and while I was getting them, you know, ready for online classes and stuff, you were like getting into this. What was your experience like this morning with that?
This morning. So puzzle games are very difficult for me. So I was, like you said, it's not a hold your hand game at all. So I was very appreciative that you woke up and were getting ready and watching when you were, because I was so lost and paying attention to details. And I was just, it was very overwhelming for me personally. But yeah, and it was like you helping me through really, really got me through. So I see where your wife was like rather play with like help.
Yeah,
because I was not not able to do it.
Yeah, because this game really requires you to, again, no hand holding. So you have to like constantly reference back through different memos, different documents, read like the band notes on the family chart itself. Like, I think that really contributed towards the feeling of like satisfaction when you finally got it. Did you all feel that, like, as far as like difficulty wise, like where did you guys kind of like rate this on like the scale of things? Would you have rather seen a bit more like revealed in the radio musical portion, or how did you all feel about how the information was? Because I think a lot of us experienced towards the end of the game, like a few of those names were like, well, hell, this might be this person, this might be that person. It got a bit tough, right?
Yeah, I think for me, I would say like the last note, because the last note's just basically a comment from one of the singers that actually does some of the interviews on the radio, and it's just her note. It doesn't reference any of the other bands or anything. And I was just like,
I know.
I was like, could this have been one more hint? Just one more hint.
Right.
It was the last two names. I'm not going to go into like who they are in case other people want to play, but it was for two different bands. It was one of the bands at the very bottom, and then Clanger. And there were two people. I was just like, I don't know who goes in these two spots. Everyone else, I was like, I'm 100% sure that that's who they are. But those two spots was like, if you had been in one interview, that would have helped me at least narrow it down. I could love that they didn't handhold me at all. And I had to piece it all together.
Yeah.
And you can go back and forth between different notes later and be like, oh, wait, now that I know this about this band, now I can piece this to with that previous note, and I know who it is. But that last comment, I was like, okay, the last two notes are going to give me some clues for these last five people. And the second to last one kind of did. But that last one was just like, no, I hope you enjoyed the game, basically. It was like a signing off kind of note. I was just like, cool.
But
all
even
right.
then, like the information that was revealed, so just for all of you watching this, like you have 30 names total that you have to guess, that family tree you see right there. And every 5 correct names you get, the game will tell you those correct names, which conversely, it also tells you that the other names that you guessed are not correct, which is a lot of great information as well. And of course, you could kind of like just sporadically guess, and in some cases that works, but there's too much information and there's many names to throw out here. But what was really fascinating is watching each of you guys stream it is like we all took a slightly different approach no one like had it at the exact list of names. And in fact, watching Layla's today, there was a couple towards the end. I was like trying to scratch my head and remember. I was like, I don't even remember how I got to that person or not. And then rereading the notes again kind of justified it for me. So it surprisingly has replayability. Outside of like the actual gameplay, the puzzle piece, how did you all feel like from a storytelling standpoint? Because this really resonated with me on a pretty deeply emotional level. It wasn't just a puzzle game for me. Did anybody else like kind of experience that like sense of like nostalgia and like digging through history? Anybody want to jump in on that?
Yeah, honestly, because I also afterwards ended up doing like kind of a Google search of the different bands that were in the game. I was kind of disappointed to find out that they were fictional because they were so like you did get a bit of a connection with each of the different bandmates, and like there's a bunch of the notes where they're like complaining about this guy who'd been through a couple of the bands.
Alex,
Alex,
I actively dislike that guy. He's great, and I've never met him, but I don't like him.
I was like, "Sir, you broke up so many bands. I'm very upset with you."
Yes.
And you get to that point where you have that kind of like you're starting to feel vitriol towards a guy who you've been told a story about, but he doesn't actually exist. And I feel like that's
it has a beautiful voice. We should say
great. He does.
Beautiful fictional voice
that broke up these fake bands.
I'm not gonna lie. I felt like a little justified that in his last band he didn't sing like that.
Yeah. Spoilers.
You don't get to be the lead man anymore.
You're right. We should say for those watching that we're not picking on Tony to answer these. Tony, as we said, Tony filled in last night. Thank you so much for jumping in on the call or on this chat. And so this was the one game he didn't have, rightfully so. He didn't have time to play. So I'm hoping by listening to this conversation, Tony, you're like excited to jump
sounds
into
interesting.
this game.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, I love the whole feeling of like that I don't even know if historical detective sounds like too dorky. It's more so like I don't know what it is.
Where are they now?
What's that? Yeah, where are they now? Like
that's what it feels like.
There's something emotional, I think, just about looking through old photos or old notes, wherever it may be, right? Like I remember just picking up some random box on the side of the road once that had some board games in it. Long story, but it had some like old notes, like family trinkets in it, and it's just like an emotional thing, just to like peer into the past. And the other part that kind of like caught me to this is like the game started off with an interview with one of the musicians of this era, and they talk about she talks about the fact that this was kind of an era that kind of time has forgotten a bit, and that just like kind of I don't know, that like hit me just as somebody who like feels the idea of like wanting to be remembered, having a historical impact on this world before we leave, and as somebody who's obsessed with like the obscure corners of the internet and like all these pre-internet era stuff. Like, how did you all feel like kind of combing through that all? Layla, was that something like, did that resonate with you to the same level it did with me?
Probably not to the same level. But I did get and I did enjoy the stories that were going on and like the little bit of drama that was going on. So it wasn't just pure puzzle, like you were actually getting a story from it. And one of the female vocalists, I really enjoyed her voice. Like I thought she had a really beautiful voice, and that like made me happy with the music and whatnot. But
yeah. How about you, Scarlett? As far as like that feeling, in terms of like kind of that historical detective piece, like how did you feel about combing through all that information?
I honestly loved it because I love digging through different types of media, and I actually teach English and I like writing research papers. It's one of my favorite things, digging through archives, digging through databases to try and piece things together to fit an argument or to figure something out. So this is basically my favorite parts of writing a paper in a video game, of just digging through everything and piecing it all together. And part of me is like, I want to play it again because I don't remember all of the places where people go, but I feel like it would go so much quicker. So I need more games like this because it's so well done. And it gave me that nostalgia. Like there are tons of bands I listened to in the 90s, like different pop bands in the 90s that I listened to growing up, that I'm like, okay, there was some overlap with some of them breaking up and going like either solo careers or into other bands with other people or things like that. And I'm like, I wonder if you could do that for different eras of music and not just like the 80s pop scene over in London. It would be
Yeah.
really interesting to try and do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said there as far as like it's kind of referencing the fact that we haven't seen this style of the closest thing I can reference to is Her Story. If any of you all have played that, that's one of my favorite games of all time. But can you all think of other kind of like games that do this type of deduction that doesn't hold your hand? Is there any on your mind that because I feel like this is innovative in that way outside of Her Story or Curse of the Obra Dinn? Like there's very few games that kind of nail this ability for you to kind of take it at your own pace. Maybe kind of some of the older classic, point and click games, but even those games didn't kind of do the deduction at this level. Any thoughts on that? Like any comparative? I might just be speaking as like a big deduction detective fan. Am I the only one here?
This is the first time I played a game. It's
A really old game, and I mean really old. It's one that my dad played that he let me play once I got a computer of my own. So it was a game that came out in like the 80s or early 90s called Phantasmagoria. And it was a 7 or 8 disc game.
Yes.
And so you had to keep going through the different discs. And it was you had to figure everything out because you had to piece together what's going on in this house and what exactly happened. Like you see a cutscene where you kind of know what's going to happen, but you don't know why it's there or anything going on. So you have to go everywhere throughout town, pick up keys and things, very point and click. It's not to the same level this one is, but I feel like these type of detective-ish games are slightly from an older era. I really would like to see them kind of come back to let us explore them more with what we have in gaming now.
Yeah. Shout out to I haven't heard Phantasmagoria referenced in a while, so shout out to that. Shout out to a predecessor, Seventh Guest, which interestingly enough was responsible for like selling so many CD drives in the 90s. Literally, it's amazing. You should check that out. But yeah, I agree. I'm thinking of like even like the Ace Attorney series or even Papers, Please. There's some deduction like elements that some of these games have done to do that. Obviously you can tell I loved it. It sounds like overall people like this game. Yes, thumbs up for the most part.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
The problem is there wasn't more of it.
Yeah, exactly. I want more. I think people in like the forums for his itch page have been like asking him to explore like every other musical era, and of course
rock would be cool to see.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
the game that I finished my stream on, and I would have to say I was definitely disappointed when it was over. I was like, no.
Oh,
Same.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. My stream ended with that one too.
I listened to the whole final song that they play when the thing's over, and I was like, well, I guess I'm done with the game now.
Yeah, interestingly enough about that piece, did everybody download the game, or did you all play it in the browser?
I definitely downloaded.
Okay.
Browser.
So there was a slight difference in some of the intro and outro stuff we should mention for those who are considering checking out this game. That the downloaded version is probably, I guess, the preferable way according to the designer. So it might be worth checking out again. Awesome. So that was Family by Tim Sheinman. Again, we will be discussing that game in more detail with the developer, creator, and the musician for this game tomorrow. Next up, we are going to be looking at a game that I know was quite popular with with many of you, and that is A New Life.
I get you.
I actually, I'm not sure how everyone else on the call. I'm not a fan of the game. I'll be a critic later on.
Oh, here. Well, let's get that going. Sorry, I should have mentioned to you guys that I'm airing the trailer for that right now. So let me get the trailer.
Sorry, my bad.
So this is the trailer for A New Life. So that was the trailer for A New Life by Angela He. Hopefully you heard that well. I got my kids running around the background. You might experience a live whooping on Indie Game Club this week. I don't know if it's happened before, but you might
like
be
that
seeing
sometimes.
that. And my nose ring is falling out here, so let me flip that in. So, Tony, yeah, you've been kind of silent, obviously, for the last game. So let's start with you, straight up for the New Life. You got some New Life. You got some controversial things. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I actually was not too much of a fan of the game. It is a new representation of a lesbian couple in media. Shout out to Batwoman. So it's something that you don't really see very often, and I was looking for, something, some new insight, something to pull away from it. But in all honesty, and this is just me being a critic of the game, it was just a perfectly average love story that, I mean, no spoiler, it ends with someone dying of natural causes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and straight up say all of Indie Game Club is spoilers. So let's freely talk about the game, because this show is
cool.
and I would say this, as we do every week, that even if we do so-called spoil these games, they're still worth checking out. I mean, to Tony's point, it might not be for everybody. I totally agree. Some of these games are more, I think Layla's probably going to say that she enjoys this one more than Family, for example, opposite of me in this case. But yeah, Tony, I feel you on that point. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, it was a really beautiful story. Really beautiful story. But to me, I guess my expectation was that there would be a lot more conflict, with either internal conflict or external conflict. I think in the entire game, they don't actually interact with anybody else other than themselves. And from my point of view, you could have technically just made it a heterosexual relationship, and you would never notice the difference, because there's no, I guess I was looking for more conflict, and it didn't come into the end portion of the game. But with that being said, the art style is beautiful. I love how they integrated the cell phone, a little Easter egg. Apparently, one of the girls is playing Animal Crossing over the weekend. So that was just really cool. But like I said, I was looking for some kind of conflict, something, as lesbian couples aren't represented as much in media. So I really wanted to see something that, that would provide some kind of insight.
That's a really good point. Let me read real quick from the chat. Amar saying, Tony carrying my hot takes guy seat in here. I love that. I love it. This is the whole point. It's like a book club. We have different views. He also says, please play Florence, everyone. I love those kind of games. Florence from Annapurna Interactive, definitely worth checking out as well. I definitely want to unpack and explore the kind of the lesbian component, I guess, if those two words have ever been placed together. But I see that Scarlett wanted to jump in here too, so please.
So I kind of think the point of that, of not putting a conflict that was based on their sexuality, was to try to make it more normalized, because it does that we want to get to a point where it doesn't matter who's on the screen, whether it's two guys, two girls, a girl and a guy. They want it to be more normalized. So I actually appreciated that they didn't bring in a whole, like, oh, their parents hate that they're with a girl, because that's done so much in media already, that it's like, oh, they're disowned because they're lesbians, or they're kicked out because they're lesbians. So I liked that when they were talking about their wedding, it wasn't like, oh, is your mom going to be upset? It's more like, hey, let's get our families together and it's going to be fine. And there was I was expecting something like what you wanted to happen. I was expecting there to be conflict, and I was dreading that. I'm like, please don't let anything happen to them because I hate crime or anything. Please don't let this happen. I just want wholesome lesbian content. That's what I want. And so I liked that there wasn't that aspect of that conflict, because it became more a real normalized couple, things that that a couple that is heteronormative would end up dealing with, without there being a drive of, well, why isn't there sexuality conflict in this heteronormative narrative?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I see what you mean there. I totally see what you mean there. And as someone, I've been with my wife for 17 years in an interracial couple relationship, oftentimes you see like media portrayed a certain way. And I appreciate that fact. To Tony's point, though, do you think that by not acknowledging it in some way, that it's potentially a missed opportunity as well? Because I think to Tony's point, he's saying, you have this opportunity to portray these people in a positive way, but you're not maybe taking it a step further by embracing it. Could that be
Okay.
argued?
And then also to tie on with that, one of the questions, like I said, that you could have had just a heterosexual couple in there and would not have noticed a difference in the storyline at all.
Layla.
Well,
Yeah, okay. I see you both
Okay.
jumping in here. Scarlett, you want to jump in, and then I'll bring in Layla here. Scarlett, yeah, go for it.
with that, like I said, I think it's meant to be that it's supposed to be that you can change it out and it be anybody there, because it's a universal experience of having this painful situation with your loved one. So I feel like, yes, while it could be changed out, that's kind of the point. It's something that everyone can grow with. And I've been with my partner, who is a guy, for 7 years, even though I am attracted to women. So it's one of those things where I'm liking seeing that other aspect of it, that it's seen as normal. Now, I feel like because it's a shorter game, that it's fun that they didn't go into that. If they were going to make a longer version of the game where it actually expanded more of their relationship, where it's going through like with them dating, maybe that conflict would have been there. But since that wasn't the main point of the game, I think it was more about, well, how do you accept this natural part of life with your partner?
Yeah, Layla, I see you were nodding quite a bit to what Scarlett was saying. What are your thoughts about this?
So I can definitely see both sides of Scarlett and Tony's, how they described it, and I agree with what Scarlett is saying, because I don't see it as a missed opportunity, because everyone uses that opportunity, like in whether it's TV or whatever, movies, whatever the case is, it's already been done. And making it normalized, I feel like has more of an impact than to just do what everyone's already doing with that situation, you know? And that's just me personally, how I view it. It is refreshing to watch a lesbian couple grow without having to see all of the stereotypical like situations that everyone already thinks is going on. Like, I feel like that's something that people assume is a issue, even if it might not be an issue with that certain couple situation, you know? So it makes it nice to see that it's not always like that, or it doesn't always have to be about that. It's just normal. Like it's good to see that it's a normal relationship going through things.
And to your point, we got several comments in the chat. Darth Sabulba on Twitch is saying love is universal. The Athena Alliance CLT on Twitch is saying the game definitely had nuances of a woman-woman relationship that you don't see in hetero relationships. Bryant and Bart Bastic, love to bring you in here for this.
No, cool.
So just quietly sat there. Your general thoughts about this game, about the topic at hand, and the gameplay itself.
And I think one of the things where I think it makes more sense that there's not that outside conflict is that there isn't any outside conflict. It is all just between the two of them. And I don't think you would see those struggles between the two of them because there aren't any. There's no. It would be very ham-fisted if they involved other people for this specific conflict. So I think it was just in keeping with the themes of the game and in keeping with the kind of story that they were telling, which was just about two people.
That's a really good point. I mean, a lot of times the things that we discuss here are almost like, super obvious, but I didn't even think about that. The fact that there's no other characters in this game outside of the two main women, August and May. As far as your conflict point, again, super spoiler heavy. We're about to go hard on this. This game was released in May and is clearly designed with our current state in mind. So there is a virus. What is it? More big of virus? Like I forgot the name.
And she has to work from home.
Yeah, it's essentially a coronavirus tale. Michael, can you talk about how that plays into the story, like the analogies to like kind of modern 2020 life that we're seeing here, and how that adds element to the conflict, to some sort of conflict?
There's a pseudo coronavirus that starts happening probably, I guess I'd say about halfway through, that they start mentioning it in like the news, and it has an effect on your decisions that you can or should be making. I didn't know that the game was released in May. So when they start mentioning it, I'm like, I'm going to make decisions as if it's not in the middle of a pandemic, because this game was created before this was normal. not realizing that, nope, this is pretty much the same thing. And obviously, as we've already discussed, spoilers are going to happen. If you make certain decisions, it'll affect one of the characters can contract the virus if you make the wrong decisions, and it affects, like Bryant said, one of them starts working from home, which is something we can all relate to, probably. Some of us can relate to, which, it definitely felt very modern for that kind of
I think there was a small hint of her being a workaholic too. Mm-hmm. So there was a small hint of her, neglecting her spouse or maybe being a workaholic. Very small hint of that. But I wish they would have expanded a little bit more on it.
Yeah, and we should say for those watching that the primary way, I mean, this game, I think even on itch, the website where this game is available, it's available on multiple pages, including Steam. This is kind of in the visual novel category. You're essentially kind of, the analogy last week we talked is like kind of the choose your own adventure style. The biggest takeaway from this game for me was that the most small decision in a relationship could have long-term consequences. That was the biggest lesson, because I think correct me if I'm mistaken here, but I feel like the takeaway from this game is not meant to be played like one time and you have your experience and somebody else has their experience, right? To me, this game was meant to be played multiple times until you kind of get the ending that we all, as hopeless romantic human beings want to get, right? The growing old together, right?
Yeah.
And so that part, to Tony's point here, I want to actually agree here, because that's the part that slightly bothered me, I want to say. There's a bit of limited interactivity, and for those who have watched prior episodes, I'm not one of those people that says you have to be this much interactivity to be classified a game. Not at all. I'm up for any amount of interactivity. We'll call it a game, whatever. That is totally fine by me. But as far as like the satisfaction of playing this and my choices having impact, it was a little disappointing to see that I had to make a very specific choice for her to like not get the virus or the tumor thing. That I think could have been better. Scarlett, I see you not shaking your head. Or Layla, jump in here. Tell me I'm wrong. I want to hear it.
No, I definitely. So I went through for like the end game or whatever, the end story that you're aiming to get. I did that after my third attempt, and I literally was sitting there. I was like, this cannot be the end game. This is not the story. So I literally went back and was trying to do all different types of stuff, make different decisions to get the story that I wanted, but it was not there. And I felt like I messed up in my decision making because I was looking for that one ending. And then in doing that, I was seeing, this is where they actually brought up the virus here. Or like, this is what she would have done if she would have never met her. Like, because I was literally trying to find any outlet to try to get that end story, and I couldn't get it. So I feel what you're saying about the disappointment of not getting that satisfaction of the ending that you're wanting. For that.
Layla, I love how you and I almost had like inverse experiences with family and a new life. Like you're talking about how you cleared it so quick. Like I did not clear a new life so quick. It took me quite a bit to figure out exactly the decisions I needed to make.
I think we were discussing the game yesterday, and you were like, "Oh, that happened? I didn't even make it that far." And I was like, "Oh, I thought you beat it because you played it Monday." Whoops.
They're in a relationship.
Wait, I have to talk to her when she wants to sit down at the table?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, and I need to talk to my wife.
How
do relationships work? Scarlett, I see that you had some things you wanted to jump in here with.
I can understand that interactivity thing, and I'm definitely on board with it. I wanted that wholesome relationship. I wanted to see them like as old ladies, just cuddling their cat, like, I don't know, playing video games, or maybe they're out traveling with their cat in a scarf or something, like just that stereotypical like cute ending image.
Yeah.
And I wanted Mao involved. Cute cat. I loved the cat.
Shout out Mao.
Shout out Mao.
Oh,
Great
man.
detail.
Wow.
love anything where animals are not harmed in the making of any video games or movies or shows.
Yes.
Wholesome content.
Hopefully that's all video games, just as an aside. But yeah, keep going.
I mean, like, as your character, like, as you're in your narrative, you're not having to, like, do anything with animals.
Yes.
Because I like when, like, anytime that an animal dies in a movie, game, whatever, I'm just like, no, how dare you? The whole village could die, but that dog better be okay.
I love it.
So, but I guess it's just because maybe I've gone through visual novels quite a few times, because there's several visual novels in that bundle, like Changeling, which is really good, and a few that are more like romance oriented. And I like that visual novel because it's like a branching story, choose your own adventure kind of books, like when Goosebumps released things like that, where you got to just like flip through different pages to make the story what you wanted it to, and you didn't know it was going to happen. And I think because it was a shorter game, we lacked having that many decisions. And so it felt like it wasn't as interactive, because it was a very, like, you can get through, like, me and Layla, I think, just rocketed through the game.
Yeah.
Took me maybe a half hour, if that, to get the ending at the very end. Then I was like, no, I want more. But I think it's because it was that short. If it was longer, there might have been more opportunities to have that interactivity. Like, maybe you would have had to do different decision trees to try and convince her to stay home with you, or you would have had to try and figure out multiple things. Because I was watching Barbastic play, and he's like, how many things do I have to do the second time? And he was like, okay, she got the virus. How do we prevent this? Doctor, vitamins. What do we need? What do we need to do to make sure she doesn't get sick?
This is very revealing.
And then
to,
she
like,
gets a freaking tumor, and I lost.
Right, though.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
Literally.
We got some interesting kind of things here as far as like maybe some gender dynamics at play too, in terms of like preferences for games and play styles here. Brian, you wanna jump in here?
I wasn't gonna jump in on that, but
You
I
don't
can
have
jump in on
to.
that. Sure.
Feel free to discuss what you want. I don't mean to like set a landmine for you to walk on. If that,
No. You're fine.
Subject,
no,
right.
that. So, what I was going to say was just a continuation of the previous topic, in the sense that, so kind of the second to last ending is that she gets a tumor, and then the good ending is that she has a relapse, and I'm like, I don't understand how those are different.
What? I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the part that really disappointed me, is that the I got to the quote unquote good ending, and it was so reminiscent of the ending that I had like just gotten before that I was like, oh darn, I screwed it up again.
Right.
And then they keep going past it, and I'm like, oh,
So
okay.
you can see it on screen. She asked, like, oh, well, where are we going to go on our trip? Like, Asia or Europe? And I was like, Asia. And then she drops to her knees. I was like, I picked the wrong place.
Yeah. Europe! I promise. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, shout out to May, because this woman,
she is abused.
Not only went through a coronavirus-esque disease, but the brain tumor thing. I was just feeling for her. I was like, God dang! Like,
yeah, the brain tumor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the message there is probably like that enjoy the relationship, and at the end you kind of get this lovingly written note from May, which kind of implores you to like move on, which I thought was really, really beautiful there. Did anybody else struggle, or was it just me? Any of the guys maybe as well, like struggle with this whole idea of knowing like what choices you had to make to get there? Because apparently Scarlett and Layla just like cleared through it like this, and I was just like, because I will say on my first playthrough, I was like, I'm gonna make this relationship work. This is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, no, I'm not even letting her sit next to me. Like, we're gonna end this relationship now.
I do love that the first decision you make can lead to an ending. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't that poetic? That's poetic right there. Just like in real life, right?
Oh yeah.
I definitely felt like, to your point earlier, was like there wasn't enough decisions that felt like they could lead to the best ending. Because I think me and Mike had discussed it yesterday or something, where there's for her to get coronavirus, or not coronavirus. It could either, if you had like a big wedding, or if she goes to the store, she gets it. So it doesn't matter if you pick one but not the other. Then she gets it, and if you flip it, she still gets it. So it's because he got both of those.
I made both bad choices.
He was like, well, let's have a small wedding and you can go to the store. And then the second time he's like, fine, we'll have a big wedding and you can't go to the store. And he's like, and I was like, well, yeah, it's a virus, Mike. What are you doing? But
My bad.
You definitely felt like you had to pick.
Pour one out for May.
For me, the brain tumor thing just sort of seemed very abrupt. Like it was very happy, living their life. And they grew old. She goes to the hospital, boom, brain tumor. Now I understand. Like I know people who have brain tumors, you can't get just identified as that, but it just sort of seemed very abrupt. And I'm like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it is that abrupt, though. Speaking as someone who I did have a family member that did end up they had cancer and then it developed into a brain tumor, and it was just sudden. He was just getting tired and irritable for a while, so he just thought it was insomnia or overwork, and then boom, it's just like, so we got to do this aggressive treatment, or you got this long left, and it's like, this is relatable and painful, and this game honestly nearly made me cry twice.
Yeah.
Like I teared up at different scenes. I was like, please don't do this to me. I just want them to be happy. They're even named after months and it's cute.
Oh, I just got that.
Did you just get that?
I did. I definitely did.
Brian, don't lie. Don't leave me hanging here. This boys club.
They're named August and May. What do you mean?
All right, Tony, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I just got that now.
I mean, May.
Come on.
Now, August is a little weird, but May is a very common name.
Yeah.
They said their names popped up, and I went like months. Like immediately.
I was like, oh, we're shipping months now. Got it. Because there's even a rock song I listened to. It was like October and April. And I'm like, oh, we're shipping months again. This is awesome.
Yeah, can we talk about the music in this game? Like, how did
I was about to say, the music and the art.
On point.
Oh, yeah.
And art. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it was very emotional music, too. Because, whenever they brought back the beginning song at the very, end when it's going always on my mind, I was just like, this is cute and wholesome and sad at the same time. And I'm going to cry.
Can I just say the emotional heartstrings of after you get one of the earlier endings and you go back to the start screen, they leave the ending in the background of the start menu, and you're just like,
literally, just sitting there watching in shame. And you feel
quick question: did you? And this might have been just me. I noticed at some point in the dialogue, it almost seemed as if May or the person who survived was narrating it back, meaning that she was recalling it or narrating. Did I? Yes. Oh, that was that's what. Okay.
I got that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We got in the.
I wonder who she was talking to.
Yeah, good point.
At the final ending, you get the diary or whatever. So I got the sense that she was writing it in the diary.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
And so even the menu is you opening the diary and looking inside of it. So
maybe putting her notes in the margins of where May wrote their love story.
I don't remember exactly what it says, but if you go back to the main menu and you flip to the chapters, there's another page behind it. I don't remember what it says, but there's a note there. I was like, man.
I remember what it said, and it was the rest is for you to fill in on your own now, and it was signed May.
Yeah, so you can start a new life. So that's why when it left off like that, I was like, okay, so are they continuing this? Is there going to be some type of continuation where you get that chance to start over and live that life? And that was kind of what I was hoping for, because
feel a little emotional.
It just ends for me. It hit me so hard because it was neither of them really achieved their dreams. It just is left off and if you go how I did, go back and try to read every single dialogue, that option that was available, and you really learn more about each character. It's you learn that they didn't really get fulfillment, but it's almost like they settled to be happy or just accept the happiness that they got with each other without fulfilling their dreams. And that's just kind of the sense that I got, when she was she needed a break, and it was good for her mental health. It was almost like she was accepting that this is how her life was going to end without fulfilling it. So trying to find the happiness in what she had lived with August. And that's just how I saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. To to throw in a couple more comments here from the chat, Dartsabova says a lot of this hit home for me. It hits home for a lot of people, not only just the relationship side of things, but the coronavirus side of things. Athena Alliance CLT coming in here with a hot take. I wonder if this is Emmy or who's behind this account writing this. I would love to hear this. It says the fact that the women finished the game fastest answers why the couple had to be lesbian. ... But I don't think you're ready for that conversation. I'm gonna put out a challenge right here. I think that's the whole point of Indie Club about these conversations. We're ready for that. We're ready for that conversation. Athena Alliance CLT. We challenge whoever's behind that to justify your point. Amar also on chat said, I feel like the experience with this game depends heavy on if people had similar real life experiences or not. Sounds like the case with a lot of these story-based games, to be honest. All right, Amar, I know you're going to appreciate this, and I'm going to have a hot take. I'm going to slightly disagree here because as someone who, my father passed away just like that unexpectedly, immediately, and so I could relate to that point of this, but I will say I still felt from a narrative standpoint, the fact that these things can happen doesn't mean I think it's the best narrative choice from the developer's side. So I think, to be honest, on my perspective, again, Scarlett, I totally respect, I think we have differences there. I just think stacking a virus with a brain tumor is a little bit much in my case, and to back Tony's point, like that's the main narrative element. And the conflict, one of the things I didn't like about the relationship is I feel like there was too many times where there was a clear good answer and a clear bad answer. So like you're laying in bed having those couple relationship talk, and you could just be like, good night, go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I did that.
So it's like, come on.
I did that just because. I did that just because.
Yeah, the first time around, I was like catering to May's. I really wanted to be like that supportive partner, but like the second time, I'm like, I want to get a different ending. So this relationship it's a wrap.
Ouch.
I thought it was funny. There was one time where choosing what, like in real life, I feel like would have been the bad thing to do actually ended up benefiting you, and that was when she's like playing the guitar or whatever, and you have the choice between like paying attention to her and looking at your phone. Yes. But if you look at your phone, that is the earliest mention of the virus. And so you have the more ammunition later on in the game. So like when she's at the store, instead of saying come home I'm bored, you can say come home I'm scared. And she has a little more.
Yeah.
Right.
I said I was bored.
I picked snacks first the first time around.
So
I said I was bored.
I was so bothered because like I saw that alert at the first scene where you're able to say I'm bored or snacks. I was like, come home. I was like, come home. And it's like, I'm bored. I'm like, why would you say you're bored? Your home screen just said
I did the same thing. I was like, oh yeah. And then it says I'm bored. I'm like, oh, I guess we're not actually worried about this. So then I hit never mind, come home.
Yeah.
And then she gets it. I was like, oh, wait, what? Like I thought it was more serious with the game because she says I'm bored. Like Scarlett just said, it made it sound like it's not as serious as I was making it. I'm like, oh, I'm just crazy.
And that I think speaks to one of the fundamental issues I think with these types of games, again, for me, is that it's not exactly clear the choices you make, the consequences of those choices. No. Which in real life, that's the same too. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like too much of that is like a slight bit of a guessing game. Kind of, it reminds me of the old pixel hunting and the old LucasArts Sierra games, like where it's like, I'm really trying to struggle to make this specific connection. Again, my personal criticism. I really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I think in these type of games, like I always do there's always like a clear best path and a clear bad path. So I'm always constantly going the first round, giving my best effort, very similar to you, saying like trying to get like a good ending or just play it all the way through. And then the second time, I'm like, screw this, man. I'm just gonna choose like all the bad answers and just see what
relationship's over.
Yeah.
go your ass to sleep, man.
Dude, at the beginning, I didn't lean over to kiss her. At the very beginning, I was like, nope, I'm not gonna kiss her.
And if you say no, they just like break up and like go their separate ways. And it's like, oh, okay. Well,
but let me ask you about that.
Ready to move things that fast, like.
No, that's a good point.
I was intrigued by the fact that I think it's when you end up playing as May for a moment, and when you're like drawing, and you mentioned that August is playing the guitar, and then you never play as her again, which I thought was really weird because then May's just getting shit on the rest of the game. Getting coronavirus, getting a tumor, being the one to die. And I'm like, now August becomes the main character for the rest of the story, no matter what happens. It was like, I mean, I feel like you could have just been August the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't.
Or they should have gone back and forth a little bit, but the fact that we play May for like 5 seconds was really weird to me. Weird.
I think it'd be interesting if they had taken it where you got to pick at the beginning which of the two you got to play as, because having to play as May, dealing with those things, getting to choose whether you left a note for August or didn't leave a note for August, and like going up to this point would be very, or even if that was just an unlockable mode after you beat it with August. Like now you're
cool. I felt like it definitely had a meaning, but it didn't.
And then you could pick whether or not you'd actually follow through with like August being like, yeah, you should come home, May, but we need groceries. But my partner's worried. What do?
That's an excellent point. I'd love to see that in a game where you actually get in the head of each of the partners to understand. Like, I think that's the source of a lot of like conflicts, not just in relationships, but between humans. Like people just the struggle with communicating to one another and not fully having understanding of one another. I feel like that's an excellent point. I want to throw in another hot take from the Twitch stream here. Lesbian relationships tend to have more nuances and also happen faster than hetero relationships because women feel the emotional pull faster than men. Ooh, I don't know if...
Sounds sort of sexist.
I wouldn't say sexist, but it's a generalization.
I think it's
generalization. There you go.
I think that it's based off of the assumption, though, because like women are allowed to feel their emotions more publicly than men are because of how society is.
Yeah.
And so if you see a lesbian relationship moving more quickly than say a heteronormative couple or even a gay male couple, because you're gonna be like, hey man, you've been with that guy only like 2 weeks. Why are you guys talking about finding apartments? A lesbian couple doing the same thing isn't seen as all that weird.
Social acceptance.
There's social acceptance. It's a double standard that needs to be taken away. But I feel like that's part of the reason as well, because again, women are allowed to show their emotions a bit more than men are. And I hate that that's the push that society's put forward because everyone deserves to be able to be emotionally vulnerable with their friends or partners. And oftentimes you'll have men that end up taking all of their like emotional vulnerability with just their partner, which is why it's a little bit harder at times, because you'd see a lot more interpersonal drama, I think, in a narrative like this, if the male was leaning so much like with that emotional vulnerability on his partner, because there's no other outlet, there's no other characters, and so it's just him letting himself be vulnerable only at home.
Yeah, I've definitely had a few situations where both I and my partner like felt very strongly about each other very early on, and we were very conscious about like the social side of it, where we're like, yeah, we're at this point, but people are going to expect us to be back here. And so like, I can't say to my mom, yeah, I met her, a month ago and I'm in love like that.
And stereotypically, if a girl says that, it's like, oh, that's cute. She might have found Mr. Right. Rather than like.
And then to the guy, it's like, whoa, man, you need to put on the brakes.
You need to calm down. Like, what's up with this girl? Like, you made a
an
goal?
interesting
What's
question.
going on?
Yeah, Layla, do you think if this was to the comments on the chat, do you think if this game was, a male, a gay relationship or a heterosexual relationship, or if it was just a different dynamic, whatever it may be, would you expect the story, the designers to have added nuances specifically to that relationship, or do you think this story can apply like equally, like you could literally just take out the character animations and insert male or any other gender and identity in that case?
Personally, I wouldn't look at it differently, just because of what I had said earlier, that I like that they give that opportunity to make everything normalized to for the game and not hone in on those. As far as how society would act towards it, I feel absolutely people would have their opinions and people would have their, inputs and whatnot, and make it look at it in their own way. But for me personally, because of how I am with like my emotional intelligence and like trying to understand and put myself in situations, I don't necessarily see that. But like I said, I could see where that would, people would put their inputs on that. like they do with everything.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. Faulty Code Gamer on Twitch is saying, I knew 3 months into dating my husband that I was going to marry him, and everyone thought I was crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think there's, it's also just in modern times. There's different dynamics, right? I mean, just we're hearing new semi-new conversations for the mainstream polyamory, age range differences, even just conversations about gender identity or we can say fairly new for the mainstream, obviously not discounting the fact that these are things that we've historically had but have not publicly dealt with in a kind of meaningful way.
One thing I can sort of say is that I'm really enjoying the perspectives and the conversation from the chat as well as the people on the call.
Yes.
Because honestly, this is what I wanted from the game, right? This is this type of dialogue, and it provoked it, so that's good.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think, let me ask this one more question before we jump to our next game. One of the goals with Indie Game Club was to get people to try a variety of different games, not only us as the guests and participants in this program, but those who play along in the chat and just even listen to the conversation. Hell, my mom doesn't even play games, but she just watches this and is like, oh, that's very interesting. I understand why you love games. Would you say these visual novels, I guess I'll just do a rapid fire succession here, are these types of games that you have played before? Will you play again? Has this game changed your mind in any way? Maybe we'll start, for everybody watching at home, we'll start with Layla and kind of work our way around.
Definitely, I like these types of things. I'm definitely like a feeler and an emotional person, so doing the visual novels, getting into the story, getting to know the characters, and being able to make decisions with them really is something that I personally enjoy. And I do like, that the Indie Game Club lets us get out of our comfort zone, because my comfort zone was definitely tested, and I like that because it helps me get out of my shell and try new things that I might not have tried before as well.
Super glad to hear that. Super glad. Yeah, Bryant, let's go to you.
I have not found a lot of visual novels, not that I haven't enjoyed, but rather that didn't catch my attention enough for me to play them. So it is definitely a semi-new genre for me to play through. I enjoy the storyline. I could see myself playing some more. I will say that as a heavy RPG player, I kind of get your thing with the not enough choice to it, but I also kind of chalked it up to that being a visual novel thing, as dissimilar from being an RPG. So I'd be curious to test that theory on other visual novels.
Scarlett, how about you?
So I do play visual novels. Normally they're whenever, I've never streamed them before now, which I might end up changing because of this, because I did actually like that it's slightly shorter, so it's easier to get into maybe a 3-4 hour stream and end up going through one path of the story, depending on the visual novel. But I think it's a new way to end up getting into video game design and everything, because they normally don't stop at visual novels. And there are a few visual novels that are even in that bundle that are voice acted. And I actually looked up some of the voice actors, and they're actually working for Funimation and stuff now. And it's where they got their start, was voice acting for visual novels. So I really enjoy it. Changeling was one that's in the bundle that I found really engaging. I played that first because it's all about Fae lore. It goes into all types of Fae stories and stuff like that, which I love. I'm a big mythology buff.
Can you describe that for the audience who
yeah, so Changeling is a visual novel where you're playing a female lead, and there is a romance element to it. You're moving back to your hometown, and it's after you've been gone for years, and you find out at the very beginning that when you were a kid, you went missing in your hometown woods for 3 days, and they could not find you, and then you showed back up, and your brother was like, that's not my sister. Because your brother was missing with you, went to go find you, and he's like, that's not my sister.
Intriguing.
They took my sister. And of course, they're like, well, clearly they were dehydrated, and things happened, and so the brother's clearly a little unnerved by what happened. But because the name of the game is Changeling, I was like, oh, so the fairies stole her or something. Something happened in those woods that is related to the Fae, and we have to figure it out. Because she has no idea. And it's really cool, and there's different romance options that you can choose to do, or you can choose not to do. You can get a good ending without going for the romance.
That sounds cool. That might be one we should consider for a future episode.
And it is appropriate. There's no explicit images like there is in a few of the other visual novels. So it is appropriate for all ages.
That appeals to a wider audience. That's always that works. I love it. I love it. Tony, how about you? What did you think as far as was this the first kind of visual novel you played, or I guess not? We played some last week.
I did.
Yeah.
No, I did last week, and
that's right.
I have that for I do have that for reference. Normally I don't gauge or do too much visual novels because I feel that a bulk of them lack the engagement, and by that I mean, is a story being told to you, or are you creating a story? Two different things. I think in these games that we happened for this week, it was engaging, meaning that you can create the story. There was multiple endings. Last week, it was more the sense of this is a story that you are consuming, and I see those as two different aspects, and that's why I always get caught up when I'm looking at visual novels. I get caught up in a happy path and screw the world, I'm going to do a bad path, because sometimes the paths are just so obvious that you just all right, do all this, do all that. But these specific games that are this week, I do feel like they're engaging, and based off what I'm hearing, there were quite a bit of multiple endings and ways and choices to be made.
Nice, yeah, I love that. Bardbastic, let's round this up with you.
This is the first visual novel game that I've really played. As much as I enjoyed stories and the storylines of games that I usually play, this is the first visual novel that was just a story and there wasn't a whole lot of gameplay to it. I would definitely play more. I just had never really given the genre much of a chance, which is, again, thanks Mike and Indie Game Club given the opportunity to check out different games that I wouldn't otherwise grab. So yeah,
I love it. Absolutely love it. And we see some recommendations that might be trickling into the chat. Thanks, Amar, for throwing stuff out there. For the sake of time, we're going to have to jump immediately to our next game because we still want to show off some of the trailers for next week's episode. So the next game we are going to be discussing, that I'll put the trailer up right now for, this is Wheels of Aurelia.
Quelle foto sul giornale, le notizie americane, te ne vai, non te ne importa, suona forte le campane, suona forte le campane, suona il clacson, tira freno, polizia, carica arresti, ma tu corri troppo in fretta, breccia trema, scoppio treno, sulla strada della testa scorre il film della tua vita, giorni rossi di protesta, rabbia per come è finita.
So that was Wheels of Aurelia. Layla, I'll start with you since the main character shares your name. Can you describe this game for folks? Because in many ways it is also kind of a continuation of this visual novel style. Could you kind of lay it out for folks what the game is about, not only from a story standpoint, but what are you doing from a gameplay standpoint?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Wheels of Aurelia is actually, it has that visual novel feel, but it's also a racing game, which I found out, obviously, by the name. And when I started playing it, I realized that quickly. But for the gameplay, you can either use a controller or you can use the keyboard. I usually go controller because I've used console most of my life. But it is easier to do with the keyboard, obviously, when you're racing and whatnot. And as you go through the story and you go through your decisions, because you do get the more decisions. And I went the same route. There's actually 16 different endings in this game.
Yes.
It's the same route. Like I kept going back. I was like, okay, well, I gotta do something different over here. Don't pick up that hitchhiker. Do pick up that hitchhiker. Pick up both the hitchhikers. And like you'll even start to see like characters that you run into later as you travel with the decision.
Uh-oh.
GameStop's still angry.
Yeah.
GameStop.
Once she said it's not available at GameStop.
Not available.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yeah, you're back.
Can you guys
on.
hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, seeing that the characters popping up as hitchhikers and you're be able to realize that's happening is kind of cool. And as you go through certain routes in the story, you gain vehicles, which I learned as well. So I'm sitting here trying to race with this rinky car, and then later I get the option to go back and use a faster car, which I thought was cool because it gives you that little push to speed through stories that may have been more difficult with a different vehicle earlier on as well. So I liked the fact that the main character, Layla, I was able to really like relate to her. And even when I was streaming, I would say something as I'm going through the story, and she would literally say the same thing as the dialogue would pop up. And I was like, okay, well, this is cool because it's not super cheesy or too much. It's like actually something that you could find yourself saying. And I feel like sometimes visual novels or any games that go with like maybe RPGs, you're like, you're being super extra right now. And it just kind of takes away from the story and makes it kind of cringy. But I did definitely enjoy that with the story. And it's like, it wasn't as small of the decisions of like we just experienced with the other story. It was, A New Life is like, it was any little thing that you do, whether you lose a race or you don't pick someone up or you don't talk to somebody, you do, it was very vast. And I appreciated that of the game as well. Now, achieving all 16 endings couldn't do that, but it just gives you more length of the game then of trying to figure out what decision to make. What decision to make to get to all of those endings. And some of them were very like morbid, and I was like, oh, okay, like they are not afraid. That was enjoyable as well. And Layla is actually, she is a lesbian.
Yep.
Man, GameStop.
There you talk about sexual orientation.
I'm sure she'll come back here in a second. Okay, she's back.
Oh.
So you were talking about the main character Layla being a lesbian, and then you cut off right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So seeing more of those roles as we continue to see newer games and more games being developed, which is something that I appreciate and I'm happy to see as times go on.
This game certainly dealt with a lot of heavy issues from feminism, sexual orientation, sexism, religion, abortion. There was a lot kind of packed into that. So Scarlett, when you were playing this game, one of the things that caught me off guard kind of was that you're driving. I played with a controller as well as Layla, and when you're driving the game and making choices about your dialogue. I think Bardbastic, like when we talked about some of this yesterday, he was like, it's like texting and driving kind of like that kind of was a bit surprising. I didn't know exactly how the driving mechanics were going to fit with that. Shout out to Athena Alliance CLT for following. Appreciate the love. How did you feel about like the game, like mechanically, as far as like what you were doing, the decisions you made?
So I'm not good at racing games to begin with, but now you're throwing in I have to make decisions as well as try and drive the car. So I would occasionally be trying to like speed up, like using the forward keys because I was using my keyboard and ended up using the directional buttons. And I was like, I want to speed up. Nope, that doesn't do that. That changes the dialogue choice. Let me scroll through here. Where is the button. How do I slow this thing down? Oh,
Yeah.
I turn around or I hit things is how I technically slow down after letting go of the accelerator. Cool. That's all right, I suppose. I would have liked a brake button.
Yes.
That was going to be
Yeah.
one of my critiques. Is there's no way to break.
But
so-
yeah, there's nowhere to break. Well, I do have one praise for it too, because it goes along what she was saying. This game has content, 16 different endings, multiple modes, multiple cars to unlock, a Wheelsopedia of each time that you play the game. Like, yeah, I'm about to get my used car sales hat on.
Well, the Wheelsopedia was very interesting because it would pop up and be like, learn more. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I hit, because you just go to the menu and it has just info dumps from Wikipedia. It was really cool to be able to, it's also a history
Tons of
game
content.
because you get to learn different,
Ton,
3 popes at one point, I guess.
yes. Replayability is very high in this game.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony, can you talk about like what are the different? That's the part that intrigues me the most about this game is every time you play it, you could have a wildly different experience. Like you could be like part of there's a bank robbery. You could just be going to confront your kidnappers, doing racing.
I had both. Yeah, I had both. So I'll go on that angle because there's so much other playabilities based on the modes and the cars and XYZ. But let's just talk about the basic game of missing turns because I did that twice. So if you miss a turn, then I mean that's that, and yeah, you miss a turn, your entire path changes. So it very, very big replayability. I had to go back and make sure I made the turns, and let alone go to different cars and XYZ.
Yeah, yeah. Bryant is a big fan of like RPGs. Did you appreciate the fact that silence was an option in dialogue?
Oh yeah,
every step of the way.
Man.
Like you could just.
I still remember there was a dude that like you picked him up, you tried to start talking to him, and he was giving you one-word answers. And so I was like, okay, so obviously silence is the correct thing to do here.
Yeah.
And I specifically didn't talk to him because he didn't seem like he wanted to get involved.
Yeah, it makes me wish I did one playthrough where I didn't speak at all. I wonder what the ending would have been.
I didn't do that yet, but I do want to. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Very curious what would happen there.
Question.
Yeah, please.
Was Gorilla like, and this is just because I played twice through, but was Gorilla the guy's name, or she was making fun of him saying he looks like a gorilla?
I think that was his like racer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was
like his
racing
racing name. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right. I think it got, they said it very early on, but then she just kept calling him Gorilla, and I'm like, man, that's pretty messed up,
They kept calling her Sweetie.
Poor Gorilla.
Yeah.
I played this once more before we launched the show today, and the first time I played it, first few times I tried to be like super careful with my driving, and I just went crazy with driving today. In fact, I did the whole move. I don't know if any of you guys did the jackknife and tried to drive backwards. You could totally
Yes, to get that hitchhiker. I literally did
Yes.
that to go back and get a hitchhiker. I was like, I missed a hitchhiker.
Yep.
I missed
Swung
the
back
first
around,
turn.
like, smooth. Yes.
The first two hitchhikers are like the next right. I missed it and went nope and just turned the car around.
Were you able to turn it fully?
Right? Huh?
So when I turned it, it still kept me on rails, and I would just drive backwards and hit everything backwards.
No.
I hit the rail and bump like it.
Really?
I
and
hit the
spun
rail
me
and then
back
turned.
around.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I love
I was
that.
able to turn all the way around and start
Mhm.
driving the opposite direction of what where
Yeah.
you're supposed to be going.
And
I still
also,
remember when
no, go ahead.
whenever I was watching Barbastic play, and he was just like, how do you brake? And like all I said in the chat was like, you hit things. And he was like, great. You just, no brake button. You just run into stuff.
Yeah. Did anybody play like me and hold the accelerator the entire time?
The whole
Yes, I did.
The
time.
whole
My
time.
second playthrough, yeah.
I didn't because if you hold the accelerator, because I'm pretty sure the road is only so long. So if you hold the accelerator, you'll skip a lot of the dialogue.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're
that's
good
true.
at driving and multitasking, you don't got to worry about that.
No, because the dialogue has a timer. So you pick the
Yeah.
dialogue and it still has to time out.
Yeah.
But you
And
can
if
add
you're
more
gonna-
time by choosing cycling through the options.
Yes. If you
Yeah.
I
can
think what he's
cycling
saying is you
through.
can accidentally speed through it so you don't get the same dialogue like response.
Got it.
But you know
Got
what's
it.
happening occasionally whenever he was accelerating when I was watching is that he'd pick the option, but then instead of replying to it, it'd be a completely different topic that came up. And he was like, that was a weird response to what I just told you.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
there was I definitely had a couple critiques about the game where like I felt like the driving part wasn't necessary when there was no punishments for driving.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
a madman.
Well, there is.
Yeah,
Did
100%.
anybody get to the issues?
Well,
there is punishment, actually. Did anybody
There
get to
is. No,
What?
preach.
that? There is, and there's multiple pathways down that. As this isn't really much of a spoiler because you find it. This just to play this game on its own is about 15 minutes, like one of the playthroughs or so. So you quickly learn, for those who are watching, considering checking this out, Olga, the person that you're pick up at the disco, I believe that's the only place you could pick her up. She's pregnant, and if you drive too crazy, then that could change. She'll either jump out of the car earlier, or when she gets to the hospital, she'll say she wants nothing to do with you and ends it right there. So there's actually a couple paths. So believe me, I tried to jack that car up so badly.
I tried to.
Oh my gosh. I
Well-
literally was like, I should have a trophy for hitting every single vehicle.
Yeah.
I never got that. Like,
That's just what it felt like, though. I mean, maybe there's only a couple endings that do that, but it felt like every time I played, I was hitting cars, I was running into walls, and it felt like there was no punishment. There's
I'm not gonna lie.
one of the stories that it even mentions in the trailer. You can see a snip of it. Is it says like there's like terrorists in an orange car, and I had a story where it's like don't get too close. But I just want a racer car, so the car was innately faster than everything else on the road. So I couldn't not be. I was like running into them. I was just hitting their car over and over again, and nothing happened. And I was like, there's no punishment. I'm literally in the dialogue it would be like, hey, we probably shouldn't get too close to their car, and I'm just keyboarding them over and over, and it's like, let's not get too close. I was like, what's
Yeah, you're
the
running right
dialogue?
next to it, and then you bumped into it, try and turn around to get further behind it. And I was just like, I wonder if he thinks it's gonna happen if he keeps hitting this car.
And nothing did. I felt like it didn't have as much of an influence there. And then also the stories were, some of the times when I was in conversations, it would be like two different conversations are happening. Like I would say something and Olga would reply to the thing I said before that. So then I'd be replying to that, and then she's replying to conversation B, and it just becomes just a mash of conversations. Like we're talking about her being pregnant and Leela being kidnapped back and forth at the same time. And I'm like, conversations don't go like this. You're on topic A, then you move to topic B.
What I learned about that was that if you if from whenever you pick up a hitchhiker, you can choose to say, oh, I'm just talking with my friend, and it will continue your dialogue with Olga. Or you could say, hey, my name is Layla, and it will continue that conversation with the hitchhiker. Because I think, Bryant, you were saying that there was a guy that just wasn't talking and just chose not to say anything. Was that the priest that you were talking about? He was like wearing that black.
No. This was guy like tall, gangly dude in a like orange shirt or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I picked him up too.
Okay, so with the priest, there's I went through it and he just didn't want to really talk to me. He was talking about he missed his exit. He didn't want to face his mother. And then when I went and I started talking to him, instead of talking to Olga, he goes into this whole like mafia situation with the president and like he knows where he's at. And then you go on that whole like storyline. And I was like, oh, okay. So if you actually choose to speak to the hitchhikers, it can lead to a whole different ending. So I thought that was pretty cool of choosing who you're going to talk to in dialogue.
Yeah, in contrast to our last game, do you all feel like this game is a game that somebody could be kind of like play through one of the 16 options and have a satisfying experience, or do you all think like it's really like required or necessary to like try to get all 16? How do you all feel about that?
I think you could be fine with one playthrough, but of course, like I said, content on top of content, completionists, definitely would love this game too. But yeah, I mean, I just played it one time, got a good, and then the next two times, I just made all the wrong choices on purpose because that's what I do.
I love it.
Yeah. And I'll never tell anybody how to play a game. So if you find your first ending satisfying and that's good enough for you, then more power to you.
Yeah.
And if you get like halfway through and you're like, I don't want to get the other 6 endings or another 8 endings that there are, then
Or the other
16.
Yeah.
Another
Like,
15.
if you get halfway through and you get 8 endings and you're like, I'm not sure if I want the other 8 endings. That's fine. But there's like a wealth of information in your dialogue that you pick up. Like if you make certain options, it's like, oh, you unlocked history about the Pope or history about this punk scene that happened in London because it was commenting on Layla's style.
Yes.
And I was just like, there's so much to find in there. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to get all 16 endings just to see what all you can unlock, but you don't have to.
Sure.
So I think it depends on the gamer and how they want to play their game. Like if they want to just see how many they can get or see where the road takes them in this game.
And those endings, I feel like, really encourage you. Yeah, I love what you did there. The road takes you. The endings really seem to encourage you to want to play more, because sometimes you're playing those endings and they're like talking about things like further in the future and like, whoa, like, you know, my decisions cause this to cause that. I was pretty surprised about that, and I'm wondering, you know, with all 16 kind of playthroughs together, obviously the decisions you make are unique, kind of like splitting whatnot, but it does tell a comprehensive story with all that combined. Bryant, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I was gonna say that like it got better, I feel like, over time, but at least my first playthrough, so kind of going back to the question of a single playthrough, my first playthrough I don't think was very clear on how my decisions resulted in the ending that I got.
Yeah, I feel you
and
on
so
that.
I think that was a little unsatisfying for the first playthrough. As I understood the game more and played a little more, it got a little better. But I think just that first go through was a little just like, okay, so we're here now. All right, sure.
Yeah, I think the interactivity reminded me a bit of A New Life in that regard, and I would say to Tony's something he said earlier I do wish personally for my play style that there was more opportunities for a level of interactivity and even on the car side as well as the dialogue side, in a way to participate more in the story as more than perhaps being like kind of told the story. So I will agree to that. I know we're running close to the end on time here. Any last thoughts before we move to our final trailers for next week? Overall, how did people like this game?
So
it
was really
this game. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
This
I
one
like
was
it
awesome.
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
And just
it
like
was,
Sorry,
Go ahead.
let's do Scarlet and then Bryant.
Okay. Just like people were saying before, this made me get out of my comfort zone because normally I would not pick up a game where I have to do a racing component because I think it's just flashbacks to when I was a kid and I'd constantly get like everything handed to me by my cousins who would beat me in racing games because they played them like all the time. They're like, hey, let's play a racing game. I'm like, how about we play Halo instead? Because I actually stand a chance about potentially winning in that game.
Yeah.
You all know that I'm not going to win this racing game. And that was the point. But I really loved this game. It's really fun. I really think that any of our viewers that are watching us review and talk about these, definitely play it. And it's in that bundle and it's fantastic. I'm going to replay it and see if I can get all 16 endings on probably my own time rather than on stream. But it's going to be great.
Yeah, keep us updated on that.
Mm-hmm.
Bryant?
So it's my only thing about this is that with a New Life, there's ultimately a single story, and whether or not you like the game is at least to some degree based on how much you like that story. There are so many different stories, like almost wholly different stories, that your first playthrough, and again, it's my experience, partly because I didn't understand how I got to where I ended up, I wasn't wholeheartedly engaged my first playthrough. And so I would say give it a chance, even if like your first playthrough isn't the story that you wanted to be told or the story that you wanted to hear. Because there are so many stories and so many details and so many different personalities that you run into that it kind of does invite more than one playthrough, because you will get a wildly different game.
Yeah. And I'd like to see this concept expanded on. I mean, I really love the idea and concept. I just, personally, I just wished for more interactivity and engagement, but definitely worthwhile for sure. All right, we're going to try to power through these trailers real quick because I know our guests have been talking for a while, and Layla has been streaming since the AM, so we'll go through these. But let's talk about the games for next week. So I'm going to show a trailer for Old Man's Journey. that was the trailer for Old Man's Journey. I will say that let me make sure to change the trailers here. The Wheels of Aurelia still up. Boom. Okay. Old Man's Journey right here. So I will say that I've actually played through this game before when it was first released. This game definitely left me misty-eyed, no doubt about it. And this is actually probably, I think, the only game I've ever taken the time to write a Steam review about.
Wow.
You can see how I feel
High
about it.
praise.
How do you all feel about? Has anybody played this
Awesome.
yet, or are you looking forward to giving it a try? What do you think?
Looking forward to giving it a try. It's available on Switch, so I bought it a while back. I just never looked, but now I'm going to look a little deeper into it.
Yeah,
Is-
it gives. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna ask, is this another like visual novel type game,
Nah,
or just have that
nah.
art style?
Yeah, it's
Art style.
interesting because there's actually no dialogue at all. Like at all. It is like a kind of a Wall-E experience or a
Okay.
voiceless experience. So it's told strictly through those kind of like flashback emotional things. I don't want to spoil or give anything away. It is primarily a puzzle game about this old man's journey and like him walking through, again, not to spoil anything, and you're kind of almost recreating his memories by changing the surface of the topography of the land, which thematically fits. He's like trying to remember his way back, so to speak, and so you modify it to get him from point A to point B. Really simple. I think it's like an hour and a half to play. Layla, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, it just gives me Yonder feels. Like when I look at it, it makes me, that's one game that comes to mind. It makes me compare to, because I haven't played it and I want to, because it looks like it's something that I would enjoy, but it just gives me like Yonder Story of Seasons feel when I watch the trailer. So
yeah, I love these visuals. I think it's just, and the music's great. It's really awesome. Any other thoughts about that? Are you guys planning on maybe playing this one?
yeah.
Absolutely. It looks cool.
I'll definitely pick it up.
Awesome. Okay, well, our next trailer is for Wilmot's Warehouse. This game is kind of going to bring to mind some of the things from Night of the Consumers here. So I'll put Wilmot's Warehouse up.
To take a whole heap and then take the ones I don't need back.
Did I not have the music on the entire
Because
time? I made a big
trailer-
mistake here. My fault,
trailer
people.
volumes on.
I thought it was supposed to be silent.
No.
No,
Oh
it's-
my gosh. Apologies to everybody watching. If you were watching me, the amount of
all
things
used to be-
water I just drank, I had to run really quickly. First time it happened on stream. I had to run really quickly. I thought the narration was happening the whole time. My fault. I apologize. I
Well,
was like
just-
specifically
just
thinking
it-
about that.
If anybody wants to go back and watch it on YouTube themselves, the person like playing through the game while like, and she's like narrating what she's doing,
Yeah.
she makes the game sound so adorable. So
Oh, right. Okay.
I
I
think that
did
listening
injustice
to
to it.
the trailer is very.
Yeah.
It may definitely make
Oh, yeah.
me more interested than just watching it without any audio.
Forgive
So-
me, Wilmot's Warehouse. I thought I was going to be so smooth. Like, honestly, like,
It was-
I was like,
it was
I'm
great
going to
'cause
run
you
to the
also didn't
bathroom. I'm going
mute
to play
your
this
mic.
2-minute trailer. Nobody's going to notice. And that was a fail. So,
You also didn't mute your mic, so they can't see you opening and shutting your door, but I can hear you just like, shutting the door shutting behind you, and I'm like, this is not what we're supposed to be hearing right now. It was on point.
we're doing it live. All right, that's how it works, folks.
Yeah.
Well, if you, yes, so I encourage you all to check out the narration. We'll have the trailer up, but the whole idea, yes, it's really well narrated. The whole idea is you're organizing like a warehouse, as the title says, and you're trying to fulfill orders. So imagine like fulfilling like Amazon fulfillment. It is an amazing game.
Okay.
It's a
feels-
lot of fun.
It looks
From
like
just
if
watching the
Tetris
trailer.
met an adventure game.
It feels like because we didn't get the audio. There's like customers at the top that are. It feels like I don't know if you guys play like Overcooked or any of like the meal like creation kind of
Yeah.
games. But at the top, there's customers that are looking for items, and then you have to go in and find their like what they're ordering just by the logos, and then bring it up there to them. And then at the bottom, there's like shipping trucks that'll come in and drop off a bunch of stuff. So between customer orders, you're able to go and pick up the stuff from the shipment and organize it the way you want it, and then go up and turn it in. I'm definitely interested in giving this game a try. It looks
And it's got a lot of cool upgrades. It actually has multiplayer too, so it's like a cool experience. I think if two people are trying to coordinate it all. We actually featured it right when it came out at a Potions and Pixels event. Any other last thoughts before we get to our final trailer there?
Well, satisfying for hoarders.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I feel like I
because you have to give away your things.
But you're slowly
organization
hoarding.
though.
Yeah.
Like finding where.
I like the tag, a game for people who like to organize stuff. I thought that was such a good tag to put on there.
And I'm not big on organizing, but I'd probably play it multiplayer because I feel like it would be interesting and engaging to do it with another person and try and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I could,
Yeah.
I would do
definitely
both, multiplayer and the single player. I'd be curious to see how well I could cooperate with someone on organization. I feel like organization for me is usually a solo project, but we'll see how this goes.
That might be a relationship ender. I don't know if you want to play this game with a significant other. Play it with somebody that you want to break up with, I guess is what we're trying to. The ultimate breakup game. We need to do that.
One
That'll
way
be a
to
future
do it.
episode. We'll do a list for that. All right. So the final game that we are going to be looking at is called Hot Pot Panic. I promise I'm going to get this audio right here. All right. So let's hit this audio right now. This is Hot
So he
Pot
says.
Panic right now with music. So that is Hot Pot Panic. It's a game where you're having food and trying to carry a conversation at the same time. It's a kind of interesting connection here between some different concepts there. How do people feel about this?
Yeah, I like cook. It reminds me of I like cooking games. Like I like Cooking Mama and all that stuff. So I feel like if it has that same type of feel to it, then I would enjoy it.
It looks interesting, and it would make me honestly want to potentially make ramen after playing it because I mean,
Fair enough.
Yep, I was like a ramen fan. So it looks like there's a hunger meter, I guess, in the top left. So maybe that's like, and then you also have to carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
It's like eating and texting.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
game,
Wheels
right?
of Aurelia edition. Yeah, just to give a
Oh
brief
my God.
description, it says a game about the struggle to have a conversation while also stuffing your face with food. You are at an all-you-can-eat hot pot restaurant, but you're here with a friend, and you don't want it to seem like you're the only one here to eat. So that's the theme.
You got a little too real for me, man. I don't.
Yeah, we've all been there.
So if we go out to eat and you're interrupting me eating ramen, I don't think we can be friends anymore. So
Right.
It's a relationship game, apparently, as well, right?
I
Like all of this. It's the sequel to A New Life. All right. The next chapter in August. Oh, okay. I'm going to hell for this. All right. All right. Well, that was all 4 trailers that we have for next week's games.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, you played 3.
You only played 3. We need the taxes.
Oh
game.
my God. Okay. Yes.
See, you forgot about it because it doesn't seem like a game because nobody wants to
It
do
doesn't.
taxes.
So we love you, Mike.
Thank you.
You forgot
Thanks for
about
my
it.
guest here. All right, the next game that we have up is called A Game About Literally Doing Your Taxes. Here we go.
Daily taxes.
That is the title.
I did 9 taxes.
Thank you, IRS. Appreciate you.
Well, I threw away a check.
There's no taxes here.
All them right up. Feeling trapped? Look no further. I don't like this. I thought this was just going to be a happy, wholesome time about doing my taxes. Daily taxes. I did 9 taxes.
Thank you, IRS. Appreciate you.
Well, I threw away a check.
There's no taxes here.
All them right up.
So I think it just looped back in there, right?
Yeah.
That was the game is called A Game About Literally Doing Your Taxes, which is described as exactly that. Never has there been a game so objectively accurate to the role of an everyday taxpayer. The goal of the game is to sort the tax from the trash in order to successfully make it through the week. This experience lasts a total of 7 days, so about 10 minutes. Any thoughts about this one?
Should be interesting.
With the random things that seem to be in that trailer, I feel like it is more than meets the eye. So I'm not sure if that's entirely true description.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as realistic as since we just passed tax season. I don't recall seeing any Cthulhu elder signs in my paperwork when I did my taxes.
It's part of the stimulus.
But
you didn't? So you're paying the taxes wrong.
So it does seem like it might have some kind of, other, and then like the screen goes black and there's like horror elements almost. So I don't know about all that, but it definitely, it looks interesting.
Yeah, we see several people. Faulty Code Gamer said, I saw Jack play that game. Mystic Titanus says, LOL, Darth Zabulba. Home Alone face. Yeah, I think the use of the term literal as well is a very millennial usage of the term. This is definitely not literally just about using taxes, right?
Yeah.
10-minute experience. Is everybody interested in trying this one out?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've played worse games in 10 minutes.
Valid.
All right, well, that was our 4 games that we played. That we're going to be playing next week. Ooh, you can tell someone.
We also went over 4 games that we played.
Yes, exactly.
you could have kept going, and everybody would have.
I know I could have fixed it. All right, it's a live show, everyone. For all those watching in the future, it was live.
There's no editing. It's just
There's
us
bound to be
unfiltered.
mistakes. There's bound to be mistakes. Okay, well, I want to thank so much of our guests here. You guys were fantastic. Every week, our guests bring their A game, and we have some amazing discussions. Before I send you all off, I want to quickly hear what's the top game outside of Indie Game Club that you are playing right now. Let's start with Layla.
What do we have in rotation right now?
Yeah, what are you playing right now? And also, several of you obviously are streamers. If you don't mind sharing your info, and for everybody viewing this, we are going to make sure to share all of their information on our social media pages. So make sure to follow all these lovely people, like, subscribe, ring the bells, whatever the youngins are doing these days.
Jesus Christ.
I am I'm definitely grinding Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I'm on like day 15.
Wow.
Never played it before until now, and I've just been grinding like relentlessly on it. Part of where my long hour streams are coming from is that. But I'm also going to revert back to Destiny 2 because Beyond Light is coming out. Shinobi Striker, there's some DLC characters like Kakashi's coming out for that. So I also play Soul Calibur as well. So I'm just kind of like rotating those games right now. And my information is going to be the same on Twitch. You can find me at angelic_Layla, as well as Facebook's Angelic Layla. Athena Alliance, you can find me on there in our Discord. I do anime Sundays, anime afternoons on Sundays. So we always got a lot of stuff going on. So you can catch me in all those places throughout the week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Layla, for being a guest. Everybody, clap it up for Layla. We appreciate having you. Thank you so much. You're always welcome on the show. We appreciate it. Bryant, let's send it over to you, my friend. What are you playing?
I am split currently between a recent game and a wildly older game. I am playing right now Alpha 19 of 7 Days to Die. Me and my buddies in the XRVR, which again includes Fox Vital. I bring her up a lot, but we play a lot of games together. We have a private server that we're running on 7 Days to Die. And we're just trying to explore everything the game has to offer. We actually just dumped a bunch of mods in there, so we're trying it out the modded style, which has been fascinating trying to keep up mods on an alpha game. But you know, it is what it is. And then the other one, funnily enough, I have played generations 1 through 4 and generation 8 of Pokemon. I am actually just started playing Pokemon Black, which is Gen 5, so it's my first time playing Gen 5 of Pokemon. So I'm going through that as well. And as for where you can find me, again, I kind of lurk a bit. I'll be hanging out in the background of a lot of Post in the Pixels event, and hanging out in the background of the Fox Vital streams. And other than that, I'm just, I'm around.
I love it. All right, let's go ahead and clap it up for Bryant. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Very much so. All right, Scarlett, let's toss it over to you. What are you playing?
Hey, so I have a few games in rotation on my stream right now. We are playing Dragon Age Inquisition again, playing through all the DLC with a human mage, romancing Cullen, because I waited 3 games to romance him, so he's definitely being romanced. I just recently beat the original Resident Evil HD remaster on stream.
Nice.
So I went through that. I'll be going to 0 at some point and playing through 0 because I want to go through in chronological order the Resident Evil games, at least most of them. I'm also playing Final Fantasy X HD remaster and working through 10, 10-2, and then going to be going to 7 after I get done with 10-2. 10 was one of my first Final Fantasy games, honestly. So do that. You can find me on Twitch on Scarlet Aeon, just all together. I have all my Twitter and Instagram information on my Twitch because it's different aspects of Scarlet Aeon. You can see me on the Athena Alliance channel or in the Athena Alliance Discord. I lurk there a lot. And I also co-host Neverwinter Nights with Faulty on Wednesday, normally at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can see us playing Neverwinter. It's the first time that I've played through it. Faulty's played through it a little bit herself, but not all the way through. So we're grinding through Neverwinter together. And we have a few people that are just in the Athena Alliance that join us every evening. And we just made a guild. So
nice.
Potentially we can come and hang out with the Athena goddesses in our guild in Neverwinter.
Shout out to Faulty Code Gamer, who was a guest of ours 2 weeks ago. Thank you so much, Scarlett. We really appreciate you bringing all this wisdom to the table. That professorship background really shows. Your students are lucky to have you. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, you're welcome anytime you want to come back here.
Absolutely.
Let's clap it up. Let's clap it up. Bryant, you are too. I don't know if I didn't say that. I'm purposely telling every person.
You don't mean it.
You're welcome to come here, and I'll just look at you up there. All right, let's go to Bard Bastic, who is not welcome at any future events. In fact, I've been meaning to do this and publicly. This is the best way to do it. So it's been fun, man. No, Bardmastic, tell us what you're playing.
Yeah, right now, playing off stream, I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic, a new game that came out pretty recently for full access. It's pretty fun. And then on stream, I've just been trying to knock out some games on the catalog that are smaller and don't require quite so much computer power, as I'm still working on upgrading on all those things. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I'm still starting out on all of them, but I'm Bardmastic on all that stuff. And then you can also find me during the Potions of Pixels events on Saturdays. I usually attend. Wednesday nights, I have Dungeons and Dragons commitments, so I am not available. But I'll usually be there on Saturdays to play any games if anybody's online.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to the days when we can safely, responsibly come together in person. It feels like so long ago.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a thing we used to do. Hundreds of events we used to do, right?
In years from now, no one will
before
know
times.
about exactly. It'll be the before times.
Ooh, crazy.
You used
yeah.
to group up and hang out in public places?
I know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I know. It's weird. It's a thing. Awesome. Well, let's clap it up for Bardmastic. Thank you, Bardmastic. You're, of course, welcome. You know it. You know it.
Yeah.
All right. Last but certainly not least, Tony. Again, shout out to Tony for coming through at the last minute. Somebody drops out. Tony's at the minute. Tony's welcome, of course. He knows that every single time. I always enjoy our late night Discord conversations, and we got plenty more things we want to do. But let us know what you're playing, and if there's a way people can follow you.
All right, first and foremost, follow me, Tony Tiger 90.
Sorry the way I said that, Tony. It was just like I realized you don't really have ways to follow you, so I my delivery on that made it seem like I was a stalker or something.
Yeah.
How can people follow you?
I live off of Timola, so if you guys would stop by there.
Tony's wife will not appreciate that. Please don't stop by Tony's house.
Nah, I'm just messing, but definitely Tony Tiger 90. Definitely on Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Steam, etc. Not really a Twitch streamer. Where I do have a rotation right now, I have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. One thing I have been playing for the last 2 weeks, and I want to shout out to the Sensei Winter Soul, is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So I've been playing that nonstop. I attend some of his classes and definitely provide a lot of value in those. So it's that Xenoblade Chronicles, and interesting enough, I'm a big Sega fan. Sonic Generations on Steam. I've been playing that recently. I love that game. I love Sonic in general, but and Luigi's cool too, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's clap it up for Tony. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. And I've just been getting these streams together without technical difficulties. That's my game of choice at the moment, and getting kids through school. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all. Looking forward to many more of these conversations. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out right here, and I'm going to go ahead and do our outro. But once again, thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
So now, everybody, just want to do a quick few announcements. I want to thank you all so much for participating. We really had a great time. As you can see, we discussed Night of the Consumers. We also discussed family. Make sure to check out tomorrow's interview. We're going to have an interview tomorrow at 4 p.m. with the developer of this game. I cannot wait for that. A New Life. We had a really good conversation about that. That's a visual novel game. And then finally, in a similar vein, we discussed Wheels of Aurelia. So hopefully you all enjoy that. Indie Game Club is something we do twice a week. We play the games on Mondays, and then on Thursdays, we discuss those games with amazing guests like you saw today. Of course, all of this, you'll notice, is emblazoned with the Lowe's logo. We are so appreciative of Lowe's being a partner of ours and sponsoring all of these events. They have really been great to work with, and they really appreciate and support this type of content, these types of deep, meaningful discussions. Hopefully you do as well. So we're hoping that you all can continue joining with these conversations with us. Hey, if you got Twitch, follow us. If you're on Facebook, like us. Anything that any of the social media platforms, chances are we're on it. We'd really appreciate your support, helping spread the word and spreading some of that love. On Tuesdays, of course, we have a whole series of conversations. If you missed the last few Tuesdays, we did Black Voices in Gaming, a really amazing panel that you can still find in the Facebook and YouTube archives. You saw two of the members of the Athena Alliance joined us today, and in fact, huge shout out to the Athena Alliance, huge shout out. They will be with us every week for Indie Game Club, at least two of their members, and of course we had four of their members who were on a Women in Gaming panel that we hosted that was really great. This week we hosted Custom Game Controllers, a conversation discussing the art, technology, and people behind custom game controllers. It was really, man, that chat was popping. Like, people left and right were asking questions. Shout out not only to Lowe's for sponsoring this, but shout out to Red Bull, who provided a arcade stick that we did a giveaway with. So appreciate Red Bull. We're going to be doing a lot more with them in the future, so stay tuned to that. Of course, next week we are really excited to have our Games to the Rescue panel. This is with three doctors who will be discussing how games are being used in the medical field, or I guess vice versa, how both ways, how games are being used in the medical field and how I think you know what I'm trying to say. This is clearly getting late night, so forgive me, people. How games are being used in the medical field to fight against things like coronavirus. So we are excited about that conversation. Starting in September 1st, we will have Black Voices in Esports as well. That conversation will be coming up, and we'll have a graphic for that shortly. Hispanic Voices in Gaming on September 8th, where we will be talking with Julio Nazario, an amazing board game designer based here out of North Carolina. He is on a roll. If you check him out on Board Game Geek, you can see he's got a lot of games coming out this year. One of the games in the background there you see is Control. It is a game that is available right now at Target, so make sure to check it out. You also heard several references from our friends at in the guest list who participate weekly in our online game nights. We host those on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Make sure to check it out. If you aren't part of our Discord, what are you doing? You got to get on that. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of amazing people that play a wide variety of games. Very welcoming community. And of course, Tony mentioned playing Smash Brothers. Shout out to our own Winter Soul, who is hosting the Potions and Pixels Online League featuring Super Smash Brothers. On Wednesdays, we have Smash and Learn sessions. That's an opportunity to learn about different characters, levels, techniques. It's essentially Smash School, I think we've been kind of calling it as well. So definitely check that out. On Fridays, we have King of the Ring. These are kind of scrimmage sessions where you can try to battle your way in the ring and see how long you can last. All of this, we should say, is completely free, and all of this, we should say, are designed specifically with all skill levels and all age ranges in mind. So if you've never picked up Smash Brothers before, you're totally welcome to join in. And finally, on Saturdays, we host weekly tournaments. These are also free to participate in, and we give out real cash. So, why not? Give it a try. It's a really supportive community. We have a lot of fun. So those are some of the things we have coming up. I want to thank you all so much for participating, whether you were watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. For those who participate in the chat, all of you guys, for all those amazing people who threw in some bits. Thank you, Faulty Code Gamer. Thank you, Mystic Tightness. Both of them amazing streamers. You definitely got to check out. Really amazing folks, and thank you to everyone who participated in the conversation and hosted us. I see several folks that hosted us. Thank you so much for doing so. We will check you all out soon. Stay tuned tomorrow for that developer interview and